What's going on, family? What's going on? Welcome to Sage Talk with Lee on this Sunday. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I see you guys are in the building early. Shout out to the Green Gang. I definitely see you guys in the chat. Green Gang, go ahead and show out for them. Put the emojis in there. Put the Green Gang symbol in the chat just so they can know you got the advantage in the chat. But nevertheless, we just came off a great show. It's called Lapeef and Sundays. We just got done with that. That's a great show. So if you missed that, make sure you guys catch it on the replay. This is going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show, no doubt in my mind that it will not be. It's going to be great. An interesting thumbnail. Let me put that back up there again. I don't know where Lee is going with this, but I am curious, just like I'm sure most of you guys are. That's why we got to watch the show. We got to figure out what it is that he's going to say, what he's going to be talking about. The one thing people have been asking me is, why aren't there any black women up there? To be determined, I guess. So we're going to have to wait to see what Lee got up his sleeve with this one. Let's get the housekeeping in order. Let's make sure we show the sponsor some love. Shout out to Tej Hanley. Feel the Tej. That link is in the description. Get your 30% off along with your free gift. Feel the Tej. And shout out to the greatest network to ever do it. More things to come. This is huge. The Lapeef Network is on to some big things. So make sure you guys support all the shows on the platform. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Make sure y'all sharing the streams. Make sure y'all showing out in the chat. The first thing you should do when you come in is to hit the like button. The likes are free. So go ahead and hit the like button. That's how we're going to be able to get these messages and these perspectives out there. And you know how I always say, let's just have a conversation. That's what it's all about. Having these tough, uncomfortable conversations, stirring the pot a little bit, because that's what we need. We need more conversations in a lot of these spaces that make us uncomfortable. That's how we grow, right? So go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. And with all due respect, let me go ahead and bring the man of the hour up himself. Sage Talk Lee. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Jared. How are you?
Doing
Good
phenomenal,
afternoon
man.
to the chat. Absolutely. What were you
Yeah.
saying?
No, I was just saying welcome, man. It's glad to be back with you again. You had a powerful show last Sunday. I see you active in the chats. I see you stirring the pot and some of these other shows that we got on the network. Good to see you there. But what's going on, man? What are we talking about today? What's up with this topic? This thumbnail is crazy. The black women saying
Well,
why the black ladies ain't up there. Lee, fill us in. Help us
well,
understand
today,
what's about this.
uh, today actually, really, I'm still processing the loss that we have from Kevin Samuels over the past week, and like this is the week following, so I've had a chance to kind of like sit back and digest many of the different commentaries, obviously on YouTube from many different sources and what some people are saying. So I wanted to talk about something that from time to time tend to come up a lot, particularly when relationships don't work out. And for so many times, the men is always told, choose better, choose better. And that's like a default response for, in a sense, blaming the man because he's the one that asked for hands in marriage, right? But before I begin really going into my complete intro, along with the monologue to follow, I wanted to kind of like pay some respects because this month so far, the first 15 days of May has been, you know, kind of like earth shattering around the world with people passing. It's been like just totally shocked. First Kevin Samuels went on the first week, and then uh, earlier this week, the king of the UEA, Sheikh Khalifa, he passed away. Then the rapper Lil Keed, an NBA player from Michigan, Adrian Payne, actor Fred Ward from Tremors. There have been so many rendition of Tremors. I used to like watching those. I'm a sci-fi buff, so I dig that. And more recently, to mention one of the ladies, uh, the mother of Ashley Judd, Naomi Judd. So and the list was just so many that I just, I said, well, let me just cull it down to a few people that I know and that I think most of the audience would know as well. So I want to say, may they all rest in peace and that their soul may receive mercy from the Most High. And I think we really, as a people, should really get back into respecting people who pass away, particularly those who are our people, Black people. But at the same time, we should be able to have enough humanity within us to recognize the passing of people who are not of our people and our nation or ethnicity, to recognize that they're going through a loss. Those who survive are going through a loss and they have to cope with it as well. But before I begin this conversation today, I want to say, Black people, we have lost so much as a people. And I'm not going to go into the list because, guys like BGS, Dr. Tiosan Johnson, and many others who are more educated than myself, and those who have been on YouTube for many more years than me. I'm not even a year yet, but have obviously uttered the history and the things that have contributed to our fall, our destruction, and the things that are happening within us as a people and a culture. But the hatred that I have seen that we have for one another is like beyond measure. Over the past week, I've heard so many individuals voicing their disdain for Kevin Samuels. Like, this man doesn't have a daughter, doesn't have a mother, doesn't have aunts and other women and men in his family, and like he's not of us. It appears that many Black men have drawn a dividing line between themselves. I should say Black women, bes- between themselves and Black men. And there is no boundary to where it seems they cannot cross to express what sometimes appear to be just unadulterated hatred of us or for us. I mean, I don't want to go into all that Ms. Fox have said. I will touch on it, Ms. Vivica Fox, because it has been making its rounds. And I just think that, you know, from what I've seen, it really kind of hurt me because how can I say this? Uh, when people use the term karma, that's like a modern way to not say God. So in essence, they're saying God's judgment. But I remember years ago when I was reading the scriptures, when I used to study more, and I'll be paraphrasing as I talk about that because I don't remember the quote and I didn't have time to find a specific scripture. So don't hold me to any exact wording. But when a man dies quickly and in peace, that's the Most High way of showing mercy, from what I've understood in the Bible. However, when the Most High hates a wicked person, male or female, and the Bible literally, because it's a patriarchal structured book, it refers mainly to the man, but it applies to others who are wicked as well. Their death is slow, it's full of pain, they suffer sicknesses, and sometimes no one can relieve them of their pain and suffering. There's a scripture where the Most High said, In your afflictions, you will seek me early. He doesn't always kill you. When you're wicked, he doesn't always kill you. What he will do, he will let you beg him for mercy. That death would be sweet to you, but he said he won't give it to you. He will let you suffer. So for those of us, you, whomever, who may believe that Kevin Samuel's passing was karmic or some form of punishment from the Most High, personally, I would beg to differ. And what he received to me was mercy. He died quick, and not sure if there was pain or not, but it was not long suffering if there was a sharp pain. And I think, and he died in a way where his body was immediately recovered. His body was not left to decompose and rot for days or weeks. So, in my eyes, from my understanding of the word, I would say that the Most High took mercy on him. And the scripture says the Most High have mercy on those that he loved. But my question to all of those who hate KS and so many other black men, and I'll mention Kobe Bryant for this conversation because he's one who was recently passed, and in his passing, there was a lot of vitriol and hatreds spew against him and his family and his daughter, which is a black child. She died also, but I guess she would be collateral damage because the goal is to destroy the black man's image. My question would be, what would that look like when the death angel comes knocking at your door? Will it be quick? Will it be peaceful? Or will you suffer in pain? Will you beg the Most High for mercy, the same mercy you could not extend to both Kevin and Kobe? So I would say some people really ought to think twice before they start opening their mouth and making proclamations about the reasons why people's passing come and go. I mean, if you go on YouTube right now and punch in deaths for the month of May, you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. All those people, for some reason, got karma, or it was just their time. They finished their work, whatever that might have been. Honestly, I know I'm confident about one thing, that those who express their glee of the dead, such as Kevin and other black men who have passed, are but the tip of the iceberg, and that there are many, many more who quietly celebrate his passing and others like him. As I go into my broader conversation today, I will say this. Today, I will be making an argument for black men, and I will be using black women to make that argument. To justify my position, this conversation will be controversial. So I would say sit tight. It's not my intention to offend anyone, whether it's you're a black man, particularly if you're married to a black woman. And I'm not intending on trying to offend any black women, particularly if you're in a relationship or married to a black man. But over this past week, I should say, a lot has been going through my mind. And I've looked hesitantly at some of the stuff on YouTube or in social media in general of what's been said. And it's been coming from both sides, black men and black women, but more so from black women. So what I want to talk to brothers today What I have to say will apply primarily to you. But more specifically, I'm going to be talking to the brothers that Kevin built this show on, high value men. However, I'm going to broaden that, not the definition, but the percentile. I'll broaden it to include brothers up to the 20% range because those are brothers that are usually younger and still growing and still have more opportunities to increase their success. And of course, brothers who desire to make themselves either that 10% man, 5% man, 3% man, or 1% man in the world of economics today and success. So, ladies, it's quite possible that you won't like this conversation today. And as I said, it's not my intention to overtly or outwardly offend any of you who are followers of the Lapeef Network and those specifically who watch Sage Talk and myself. However, it's quite apparent by now that women see themselves in an adversarial relationship with men. And that's a general statement to apply to not only black men, but obviously women of other nationalities too. But as a black man, I will be speaking from a black perspective with regard to black men and how that relationship affects black men and black women in our communities and our children. If I don't say all, and I've said this on more than one occasion, but I will preface it again. If I don't use the word all in my conversation, based on the statistics and what many of you say, women are more educated than men, at least graduating out of the universities, which mean the majority of you who listen understand the English language. So if I do not use the indefinite pronoun all, it should not be applied. I don't want to see it in the comments. I don't want to see it in the question. We're grown up here, and I like to speak to adults in an adult way. And many of you know that I'm not the kind of guy, or those of you who are getting to know me, that like to really repeat myself. And I'm not going to make excuses nor apologies for words that I don't say. So if I don't use all, don't make an argument for me to defend it because I won't. I think you're grown enough to understand. And if you put forth an argument that you know I didn't say, then you fit what I'm probably going to talk about because you have an agenda and you're trying to prove something. If it don't apply, let it fly. Enjoy the show. I would say this though. If you're offended at anything that I say, then maybe I'm talking about women like you. So listen up. If you don't like what you hear, that means you got work to do. And if you don't give a ish, tune out while you're here. My first question to black men, to all black men, and this is not just high value black men or men of any value, just a black man, period, born as a man. Is there a line? Do you have a line somewhere, whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally or whatever boundaries you set within yourself, where you can say, shit has gone too far? Shit has gone too far. And at this point, the gloves are off. No more talk. Shout out to Willie D. I've seen him show from time to time. And that's one of his phrases, no more talk. So I'll give him credit. It's time we recognize that Black women have crossed the line of no return. You know, if you're a pilot and you're flying a plane across the Atlantic or across the Pacific, particularly, like if I reflect back to Pearl Harbor back in 1947, I believe, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, that was a one-way mission because there wasn't enough gasoline or fuel, jet fuel, JP1, that they could use or have enough sufficient to carry out their mission and return back to Japan. So when I say that Black women have crossed the line, that line of no return, they ran out of fuel. This is a one-way mission for them. At this point, as a successful Black man, we are moving, how can I say? We have to be moving in a way that deals with consequences now. We can't act like people don't know what they're doing, provide cover by giving people excuses because, you know, when they were 5 years old, something happened to them. Everybody had something that happened to them when they were 5 years old. I got my navel ripped climbing a fence with barbed wire, almost tore my navel out when I was 5 years old. So everybody has some that you could call a trauma or whatever. I didn't even realize it until I jumped down off the fence and I saw the blood running down my stomach. And I went home, washed it out, and put a Band-Aid on it. I went right back outside and played. So not every experience that may be memorable is so destructive that it makes you dysfunctional. And I'm going to say this. As Black men, we need to stop putting so much care about the feelings of women. Like so many of you don't care about your own feelings. I mean, we care about them, but they don't care about us. At some point, you have to say to yourself, looking at the landscape, there's only so much a man can take. Because when some men break, and we know what happens when men break, right? When a man snaps, he loses it, bodies hit the ground. And then people start saying, oh, he's such a bad man. He's such a bad man. But nobody's said anything about all the shit he was taking. And particularly when he's taking shit from a woman, it's like, it don't mean nothing. You should take it forever if that's the case, until we feel like letting up. Now we know Kevin has spoken at length about our ethnic image as Black men and how the media has played such an integral role in the crafting of our national and international image around the world. But something I've been observing, and I've observed it for quite some time now, over the past year and a half, 2 years, since I've been more frequently in the manosphere space. and listening to the dialogue as it goes back and forth and roundabout. When the women of your own group, and I'm not talking about the scrags or the hood chicks, Keisha, Shaniqua, or whatever, names they may have, but I'm talking about the women in our community who are successful, those who have advanced degrees, who have careers, who own their own businesses, who are successful entrepreneurs, or whether they're a doctor, an attorney, engineer, whether it's electronic engineer or structural engineer or architect, or other, or obviously in entertainment, because we have a lot of women in entertainment as well. But I'm speaking of really those who have made a name recognition for themselves, those who have fame, those who have reached financial success and other accomplishments. It troubles me because when those women degrade black men, particularly the men who also rise to success, name recognition, fame, riches, then our black men go after them or after these men in such a vociferous way to destroy their name, to destroy their reputation, to hurt their families, to hurt their children, to hurt their wives and their friends. It's like it's not difficult to see how the media can come in and craft a story to support what has already been said by our black women to destroy our image in the eyes of the world, obviously. And to be honest, it's beginning to look like it's been black women all along who have set out to destroy the image of black men with the help of major media network, of course. But because, some people will say white supremacy and all this stuff. Yeah, it exists and they were out to destroy us, but they were out to destroy both the men and the women. They came at us as a whole. And obviously when men attack men, men will attack the men because those are the adversarial strength of any community or nation. So if you break them down, it's easier to conquer the females. So what I mean is, like, what was Kobe Bryant's crime against black women? I mean, it's like the day the plane went down, within hours, I saw TikTok videos, Facebook videos, comments, and then a few hours later, YouTube videos. And what was his crime? He didn't marry a black woman? And for that, what was Kevin's crime? What was Kevin's crime against black women? I didn't think, or from what I remember, I don't recall Kobe Bryant ever uttering a single negative word against black women. Now there may be people who say, well, he didn't get along with his mother or his dad, but that's family business. That ain't your business. Everybody got people in their family they don't get along with, and or they don't speak to. And a lot of times, people don't speak to their mothers or their fathers for whatever reason for a long time. Unfortunately, his death, I should say, came unexpectedly. So we don't know if that would have ever been repaired as he got older and more mature and Sometimes times heal wounds, and we don't know what the wounds are. So I asked the question, what was Kevin's crime? I mean, I watched this show, like many of probably you guys did as well. Kevin to me seemed like his crime was that he was hopeful. He was hopeful that black men and black women could come together and fix ourselves. And by and large, the community also and family. You know, when Kevin was dying from the 911 call, the woman was asking the operator to call the front desk of the apartment where he lived, the complex, and ask them for a defibrillator. Because when something or someone is near death, to bring them back from life, to save their life, you need to use shock. In that case, electronic shock to overly stimulate the heart to bring it back to its normal function. And it's funny because while I was putting my notes together for today and I thought about that part, and I heard someone say earlier in the week that, Kevin was about shock and awe. Now, I don't think he was about shock and awe because I'm a pretty straightforward speaking kind of guy. Ironically, my mother is like that too, and my father is like that also. So I'm used to kind of like straight talk for a while. But I guess some people who have not grown up with that type of uh, directness may quantify it as shock. Okay, I'll accept that. He was trying to shock. And if Kevin was trying to shock the black community in his conversation with black women, because for those of us who went into the archives of Kevin's catalog of work, know that he spent many years talking to black men and shocking them first too. So it's not a one-way thing. So if he was attempting to shock the black community, was he trying to save it? Did he try shocking black women to get them to realize that they were on the wrong course, that they needed to rethink their direction and make a correction, to stop and make a change if they wanted a safe black community with black children, black mothers, black grandmothers, black grandfathers? But many of them, it seems, did not care about nothing other than themselves, their feelings, and their own interpersonal imaginations and the codifying of that. Now I'm going to use an example because it was funny, but it's not laughable funny. I heard a woman, a grown woman, and I'm going to use two actually. First, Miss Fox, and we know I'm talking about Vivica Fox. As a grown woman, and she's not a child, she's in her 50s, and she was brought up in the era where she knows culturally, not just in Black America, but culturally around the world, that most people don't speak ill of the dead. That's common. Anywhere you go on the planet, that's common. That's an accepted, civilized manner or behavior in which people have always carried themselves. And she took it upon herself that she and others would set out to destroy a black man's image before his body was ever in the ground. Like like almost like as though they were sitting and waiting and praying and hoping for something negative to happen that they may get that moment where they can say exactly what's on their minds. Because obviously when he was alive they didn't say anything or nothing that was noteworthy to be published. Now what do we expect the media, CNN and the other networks? What is our expectation from major media? What do we expect them to say if the woman of our group, of Kevin's group, speak of him in an ill-mannered way? I mean, they don't even have to say anything different. All they have to do is repeat what she said or others like her. I would beg the question, have she ever watched a single episode, a 2-hour show of Kevin Samuels over the past 2.5 years? Does anyone think that she did that for her to be able to make the comments that she said? And going further, there was another woman on the show who said, and she came right out. She said, I mean, like she came out up front. She never watched any of Kevin's shows. That's how she preferenced her statement before she began to speak. And then she proceeded to give her self aggrandizing opinions of not the show that she did not watch, but the man that she did not know, to mar his image. And this comes down to one thing in my analytical process of her and others. It's been black women all along who has been at the helm of destroying black men's image. I mean, she didn't criticize his work. So what is she saying? What she's saying is, as a black man, you don't have the right to speak on anything a black woman says, does, or anything unless a black woman sanctions what you say. Shut the hell up. I mean, didn't Simone, what's her name? They used to work for Biden administration. Didn't Simone say the same thing a couple of years ago? She said, "Shut up. No one asked for your unsolicited opinions." Like, we don't have a right to speak. Of all the men on this planet, there's not a man that has suffered more than black men. Yet we have no voice. And it's not the white man saying shut up. It's not the Chinese man saying shut up. It's not the Arab man saying shut up. It's our women. Like, how ridiculous is this shit? I mean, it's like I remember, when I lived in New York, one of the big things in the New York Times, particularly, well, there were two. There was the magazine, The New Yorker, and then there was the New York Times on Sunday. And both of them used to come out with the New Yorker usually come out, I think, on Fridays to hit the weekend early, and then the Sunday Times came out on Sunday, of course, but they always have to. They used to have critics reviews, and the critic reviews would be from movies and restaurants and things like that, right? And I was thinking to myself, what she did, and I'm making an analogy to kind of like make the point. What she did is like a restaurant critic who works for a publication such as the New York Times, writing an article that's going to be published in the Sunday Times about a new restaurant which many people loved and raved about. This critic never going to the restaurant herself. She pens a scathing negative opinion telling her audience, her readers, why you should never patronize this restaurant, stating that the food and decor is terrible, never have eaten there, never visited, the chef or any of its staff, or even the owner of the restaurant, never speaking with any of them. But she can tell you the owner is the worst person, the chef is terrible, and the service sucks. Now we know the reality in business how that would look. But in other words, what she was saying of Kevin is that we don't like what you say. And because we don't like what you say, you don't have the right to say it. And since you're past now, we're going to tell you exactly how we feel about you. We don't have to watch what you said, what you did. We just know in our minds, you do what we tell you, period. And in the words of Kevin Samuels, you can't make this shit up for real. If what she did on that show about Kevin to any other man or in the business world, she would have been fired immediately and possibly sued. But in Black America, it's only a black man. So who gives a shit? No one protects him. No one give a goddamn about you, us, me. So tell me, how would you classify that behavior? Help me out here. Drop some comments in the chat. I'm not going to say that black women have a mental problem. They're educated, their own words, the most educated. They're strong, their own words. And they have been, it seems like, working this plan for many decades. It seems to be well thought out, it's methodical, it's systematical, and it's deliberate. So I am not going to give way that is some trauma that existed some time past, or because of some man that they may have dealt with, or whatever. I'm not a guy to give excuses in my personal life. I take shit the way it is and I deal with it. If I fuck up, I know I'm going to get some consequences. I hope I can deal with it, but I do my best. But I don't make excuses. And I'm not going to give the black woman I'm not going to give you no excuses. I'm going to treat you just like how when I ran my business on Wall Street and I had two assistants, they knew my schedule. They know what was acceptable behavior, and they know I didn't take no shorts. And since you're the strong black woman and you're a smart black woman, probably one of the smartest women in the United States, I'm not going to give you no shorts. I'm going to take you just like I see you. And with the passing of Kevin Samuels, I think any black man that finds himself, particularly within the top income bracket of 20% down to the 1% income bracket, exercise your choice. Choose better. Don't let yourself, don't limit yourself, I should say, to choose a woman just because of her color. Because in my review of the facts and the information that's available, publicly available, there's a great possibility that inwardly, the woman that you choose because of her color hates your guts and can't wait to plan and execute your downfall. And one thing I know about women, women are patient. Black women, no exception to that rule. Women are patient. They can make a plan and work that plan for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They'll pick their spots. And I say this with like apprehension. Doing this show today as I planned it out, I mean, I was making notes from early in the week. Usually what I do is I make my recordings, make my notes, and then I go and I transcribe from my recordings. And I say this with much apprehension because I myself have reservations about some of the goals Kevin had and his hopes for black people and our community. But I wanted to see him succeed because I think they were aspirational, they were big, and if they worked, it would be awesome. But I think everyone or most of you guys who watch Sage Talk and have been following me for the past 3-4 months knows I'm a contrarian. And as such, if something isn't working, don't beat your head up against the wall. Look for another way out. Look for another way out. And what I'm saying today for black men, if you're in the top 20 percentile, 10 percentile, 5 percentile, and of course the top 1 percentile of successful black men, exercise your options. Stop being told choose better because you're choosing for loyalty, because you're choosing based on color. We know 80 to 85% of black men are married to black women. We also know that many of those marriages are sexless marriages. We also know that men get abused in marriages. I'm not going to say equally because I haven't looked at the stats, so I'm not going to say something that I don't know for sure. But they get abused a lot. I'll say that much. And if there's one thing I would say that I have learned from Kevin, and I think many men have learned from Kevin, get the best out of life that you can get. And doing so is starting with the woman that you choose. Because if you choose wrong, it can be the very thing that destroys you and everything that you've worked and built for 20, 25, 30, 40 years. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there are no good black women. So I know for the women who are listening to today's show, this might be a hard pill to swallow, even if it doesn't apply to you Hearing that about your sisters, your cousins, and your aunties and friends could be hard to accept. But I know there are some good black women here. There are subscribers both to the Lapeef Network, to Patreon, and they watch a lot of the shows here because I've seen them in the chat in some of the other shows that I watch also. And in this space, the women who ride with black men, I think, is a small group. It's not a large group because it's very few black women who have the courage to kind of like think like black men. See, black men hold other black men accountable. We don't, and that's probably one of our it's part of our Achilles heel as to why it's difficult for us to come together as a group. Because as men, we always have to first prove to one another why you are justifiably should get my alliance. But when women align just because they're women, and then the things that they may find different among them, yeah, they argue and they bitch and they fight, but they know they're a woman first, and that's something that women have done for centuries, so they're accustomed to it. Whereas men have always been warriors. They're very territorial because they understand other men as well. So it's difficult for men to kind of like group up. We do it in the military and some other places and sports and so forth, and that's usually to get an outcome and a goal that we can see. But coming together for a goal that is almost it's hard to visualize, and then it's even more difficult to see what it will look like if accomplished. Some men resist that. But the large majority, I would say, of the women that I'm speaking about today are not like the women in this space. They want to see us fall, or at best, they want to see us at the bottom of society, and they being on top of us. And that's a hard pill, I think, for a black man to swallow. That the woman, whether it's his mother, his aunties, his sisters, that he grow up with and he looks in their face, his schoolmates that he goes to school with, it is hard to envision that the woman that's supposed to be so close to you in some way, somehow, have this innermost disdain for you. And as they grow up and become independent, thinking, free will, having adults, they start espousing all these venomous thoughts and ideas. I mean, they do it to the brothers who ain't rich and don't have a lot of money. They beat up your psyche in the home. But then they also go after the men who achieve greatness. The men who achieve greatness among all men in the United States and around the world. They go after those men too and try to destroy them. And I had to really like come to grips with what I'm seeing. Like, is this real? And having this conversation today, I know it was gonna touch some nerves, but I think as black men, we have to hear this. And when I came into this space, I came into this space to really address men so they can look at better options to achieve and thrive for themselves, however that might be, with a woman or without, with a black woman or without. And I will say this, in closing, when your own family speaks negatively about you, I'm talking about the black family, the black community, it's kind of difficult for strangers to just openly accept you as a good person. Like, we all know working on jobs, when you go looking for a new job, besides your qualifications, one of the main things that's required usually to help secure that job are personal references and business references. People who could vouch for you, who could say, this is a good guy, straight up. People who can say, I've worked with him for 3 years and he's always been a good team player. He comes to work on time. He works hard. He stays late. He's always willing to sacrifice for the team. And your personal references, I've known him since we were coming up in grade school together, or we went to high school and college together, and I know him for 20 years. And I can tell you this person is upstanding. You couldn't hire a better person. But when your own family, the people who are supposed to support you, that knows you best more than anyone else, or at least should, talks bad about you, something must be wrong. Something must be wrong. And as black men, I'm sorry, guys, we can't fix black women. We can't. Many of us have tried, but we can't fix them. I don't know what's broken. I don't know who broke it. I don't know when it got broken, but I do know they see us as the cause. They see us as the cause. And what I would say to you, black man, Kevin wanted us to recreate, he wanted to recreate the image of black men. And I would say, keep in the back of your mind, a way to honor him, I think, would be for us to fulfill that goal, to recreate the image of black men, despite the hatred that we see being cast upon us daily in the media, on social media, and in sometimes your own personal community and relationships with the people that supposed to care about you. So I'm going to open up the panel. Let's begin the conversation. Let's talk about it. Primarily, I want to have this conversation with black men because this is a black men's topic, and I want to hear what they have to say. The sisters today, I'm not going to have any sisters come up today. I'm sure some of you may want to defend yourself, but if my message was not for you, then it wasn't for you. And if it is for you, then there's nothing you can say to me that I want to hear anyway. Go fix yourself. Okay? That's my comment. Okay. Uh, Dr. Eugene, good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing well.
Um, I have been, looking, for a woman to marry for a while, and it's a lot to think about. But the very first thing I think about is, what do I don't want? And I think it's very imperative that if you're going out here looking for a mate, think of what do you don't want, what boundaries you do not want crossed. Okay. And my thing is, well, three things. I do not want, an ugly woman. I do not want a fat woman. But here's the most important thing of all. I do not want a bad attitude. And unfortunately, there are so many black women out here nowadays who have these bad attitudes. Now, I know there are some good black women out there. For those who think all black women are bad, they are not realistic. It's just like saying all white women are good, or all Asian women are submissive. It it's not very realistic. Okay, it may look like there are several. I'm looking for several needles in the haystack, but I know very well that there are women who have great, attitudes. Now, and what I mean by a good woman, I'm talking about a woman who is, first of all, foremost supportive. For I will support her the same way. Okay. I tried to be an example, for as many people as I can, especially for the woman who I am looking for. So I would like, a woman who would be an example for me. I think
Hold
that's
on, wait a
very,
second, wait a second, wait a minute. You said you want a woman who would be an example for you?
yeah, who would show an example, for me, for as I'd be a good example for her, basically.
Well, what I would say is that you want a woman who, I mean, meet the criterias of a woman, right?
Mhm.
Standard equipment, that
Right.
she's feminine, inspirational, and beautiful, that she's
Mhm.
fit, that she can adjust herself mentally to adjust to come on your program after you guys talk and you express to her what your objectives are for the relationship.
Right.
Because if a woman want to have her way in the way in which she see the relationship should go, then that means she's leading and you're following.
Right.
And the
And
woman
this
was made for us. We weren't made for them. But today's modern women move in the way in which they want men to submit to them. So I think
right.
as men, we have to before you can set a standard for a woman, you have to set a standard for yourself. You have to hold yourself to a standard, and then you must live by that standard and keep it. Because if you can't live by your own standards, how are you going to have a woman follow any standard you give her? Because not too long into the relationship, she going to see you faltering on your standards, and she going to call you on it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
And
anyone. So it's necessary as black men. I'm not going to tell a man what standard to have because men could have their own standards for their own selves. I mean, as a community, moralistically and ethically, we do need to establish standards for ourselves that is broad for the community. And I think one would be not to talk ill of the dead, since we have that example just this past week, right? That should be
right,
something that we should respect and honor. That even if you don't like the person, you can't say nothing good about him, shut your mouth. Go have a drink, chill out, go eat, whatever you do. But you don't have to come on social media as a black person dogging out another black person. So I think as black people, and particularly black men, the standards that we set, we must set first for ourselves. And then the standards that we will set for the women that come into our lives, we must prove to ourselves that we can keep our own standards, regardless of whether she's with you or not with you. You don't drop your standards because you don't have a woman around to check you on it. You keep them anyway. That's what makes you strong. Because when you mess up in your standards, you gotta say, you know what? I messed up. I gotta go back and check myself. I gotta put in double efforts. And a lot of times I see guys are slack and then they want to tell a woman what to do, but they're not holding themselves to no high standard. And just because you got money don't make you have high standards. That just means, you either work hard, you have a talent or a skill, you have applied yourself, and you've become successful financially. And that's a good thing. I'm not knocking that. But standards is a whole different thing. That has to do with the quality of person that you are and how you interrelate with others. Okay, so let me bring up a marvelous opinion. Hey, good
Good
afternoon. How
afternoon.
are you? Welcome back.
I'm Mr. Lee. Good to see you. You too, Mr. Eugene.
Likewise.
Good to see you.
Um,
Um, yeah, so I was in the chat, and the one thing that came to mind when it comes to character building, as you're hitting on, and you already kind of talked to Mr. Eugene about it too, is you got to do have standards. You got to have a certain discipline, a way of life that you live by, a code. Every man should have a code. That's what your honor. The whole honor to your way of life. But when you have that established, you also got to know where you're going in life. And I believe once you have your code and your drive, you're good to go. Most people right now, because we're not being challenged in certain ways, we're looking for simplicity. And I believe by doing that, it's actually taken away at us as men. We don't develop the way we should. Even in certain tribes, they always tell you, like, if you want to prove yourself to be a man, you need to go take down that line and make it mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go through some type of adversity, some type of growth in order to appreciate things, to be humble. You know what I'm saying? I don't think as men that we are today are really looking for that challenge. We're looking for shortcuts. We're looking for ways to make it easy. We're just trying to basically have, I would say, kind of like heaven on earth. We're trying to get it as fast as we can. Like young men who are in their 20s want to be millionaires. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone wants to have that fast life, easy life going, and then have the achievements, the accolades, the ego, the boost, the feel good attitude. But there's growth in all that you do, but you have to be patient. But that's the thing I think a lot of men do not have, women as well. But I'm hitting on the men more so because if we are the leaders, then we're going to lead by example by default, which is why I'm not really too concerned even with black women. I believe that women will fall in line irregardless. Only because, like, with me, just me as an example, like, yes, I'm already taken, I'm off the market. But the thing is, because the character, kind of person I am, I do attract all walks of life. You know what I'm saying? Even black women here back in the States where I'm at right now. And if I had to pull any woman, right, because I believe who you attract is who you are. You're only going to attract more of what you are. Those who don't really see themselves in you, they're not going to really align with you so much. They're going to easily move aside. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, if those people who share your image are moving to the beat of your drum, don't be disturbed by that. You know what I'm saying? You should get what you get, but you shouldn't judge people off the image as well, neither. So don't look at black women in a certain manner because you're used to seeing the results that you're seeing. You may have to just move to other locations, which I had the privilege of doing. So I can kind of speak from that, my personal experience that yes, they out there. Preferably if I had to be a stickler, if I was on the market, I do like a woman from the Caribbean. I do like women from the UK, the accent. It just gets me. Just little tidbits, little things is all. But there's there's a thing that we have to do first. Focus on yourself first, and everything will come after. Like I like to give everyone an analogy about the train analogy. Like know where you're going, have direction, and stay focused on that. You know what I'm saying? Have your codes and ethics on your train. So basically, what I'm saying, like you got your rules on your train. Whoever's going to come on board with you and be with you in life, they have to respect that. If they don't respect that and don't even care about where you're going, get off my train. Get off the next stop. Or if she's like, you know what, I don't want to really go there, then again, off at the next stop because this is what I'm about and this is where I'm going. Now I can get these luxuries for you, all that stuff you want, champagne, no problem. I can serve you easy, but I need you to not derail my life. And even when it's nothing too, a lot of men get caught up because they be focused before like woman comes in and end up being distracted, and they'll end up just saying, you know what, she became my world, she's my everything, and it's like, whoa, 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 back up, back up. I get it. You're infatuated. Your feelings is there, but don't lose focus on where you're going in life right now, man. You know what I'm saying? Because she can be here today, going tomorrow on some real stuff. If she say, you know what, I ain't rocking with you, and then all of a sudden, like you stuck at this pit stop in life, and you're still trying to pull her back on board, and she's not getting on, and now you're just depressed, and now you forgot where you're going. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where a lot of men fall short because again, that discipline, that ability to have self-control first over yourself. Other things are going to follow in life. But the thing is that we have a tendency to want to hit everything else outside of ourselves. We want to control everything outside of our own self because for a lot of reasons. But for me, I believe it just comes down to not wanting to deal with yourself because life itself seems hard on you, and you want someone from the outside give you an answer. But that's just my opinion on that, Mr. Lee.
Okay. Well, one of the things I would say to black men in general, when you get the money, travel. If you can only travel once a year, pick a country, pick a city, go visit the place. I'm not saying to go there for sex travel because I've never done that. I've never had the need for that. But if you travel, you get to know people. You get to know different cultures. You get to talk to women and meet women in those countries. You get to have conversations. And if you spend 5 years visiting one or two countries a year, in a half a decade, you'll visit 10 different countries. And you'll have an idea of different cultures and different women. And then you know, one of the things I used to do when I lived in New York, and I think because New York is the city that it is, it offers you so much of a variety. One thing I never did when I go out to eat, I never ate anything in a restaurant that I could cook or eat at home. Never. It's just a rule. Sometimes I bought a plate of food, didn't like it, just left it there, paid for it, and left, right? But at least I know I don't like that. And I think as men, we are, black men particularly, we're afraid to try new things. And we should try new things so we can know if we like it and know if we don't like it. And then it offers you an opportunity to measure and establish what's good for you. And you know what? Traveling around the world can bring you right back to America and say, that's the woman I want, that sister I knew back in the day. You know, y'all strike up a conversation again, things are going the right way. Now your mind is broadened. You can offer her experience about the world that she doesn't have yet. You can teach her different things. You could open up her mindset. You can make plans of traveling to places in the future. But a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but what I've noticed is that as black men, particularly the younger guys, everything is about some kind of reward now. Like if I'm going to travel to another country to meet people, I don't want to meet people. I just want to meet some woman, some cute girl, and I want to bang it out. Like, really? If you travel in the right way, you got a little extra money on you because you're traveling, so you saved up a little budget. You go to nice places, you'll meet women. You'll talk to women. And if you're good at talking to a woman, whether it's the same night or the next night, she knows you're a visitor. She want to sleep with you, she going to sleep with you. But I think we just have to approach things in a more holistic way. You know, sometimes I look at like the guys who are traveling just for sex. You complain about black women who have high body count, but then you go to other countries and give those women high body count. Like, really? Like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. So, I think as black men too, we have to become more cognizant of our own behavior and what we do and what we have contributed to in the way in which we have lived in America. And holding yourself to a standard is not easy. I saw someone's chat a little while ago says having a standards take too long. That's true. Standards do take time. When they made the standards for erecting a skyscraper, you know how many buildings fell before those standards got to where they were strong, where when you build a building now, you don't fall, the building doesn't come down and kill you? Because they had to do trial and error. And then when they did trial and error, they found out that this size beam at this length can support this weight. They did the same thing with concrete. And I'm using those things because it's something that I know from coming from engineering. So I'm using that, right? But standards takes time to establish for yourself, and you have to prove them. You know, Having a standard on the way in which you're going to treat a woman, even if the women that you meet do not deserve that standard. Like when I dated a girl, she always was on the inside of the curb. I never had a woman that I was dated, whether she was my girlfriend or not, walk on the outside of the curb. That's me. That's my standard. Because if something is coming up fast on the sidewalk and she might be in danger, I'm going to deal with it first. But that's my standard. So I think as men, and that's a simple thing, right? But as men, we have to set standard, and some standards are going to be big. They're going to be high. But some standards is just going to be standards for everyday life. You have to have standards for everyday life too. Like you're not going to let people talk to you any kind of crazy way. You have to have standards for that. Now, does that mean you got to get up all in their face and start swinging? No, he says, you know what? Seems like you're having a bad day today. When you're in a better mood, we can have a conversation. See you later. And you step off. Leave him there standing by himself or her. But that's standards that you must make and set for you. And then you must walk in those standards. Build your strength in those standards. So when you meet a woman and you see something in this woman that you say, you know what? She's girlfriend material. She might even be wifey material. You start dropping standards on her. One of my breaker standards, you could never disrespect me in public. Never. Not once. The first time you do it, I'm out. You get cut. Period. No discussion, no conversation. Because I'm going to let you know early on the first date, you're going to know that standard. Because women, they will disrespect you if you don't put boundaries for them. They get attitudes, they get emotional, they apply something, some other dude to you because you move in a way to remind them of him. All kind of shit. So you have to set standards for yourself. And when standards are violated, there must always be a consequence. I remember one of the last shows I saw the week before Kevin died. There was a woman a year ago who was leaving her husband, which was an older guy, for a younger guy that she said was a high value man. And a year later, she came back to Kevin and she goes, she didn't leave. She stayed with her husband. They talked about it, blase, blase, blase. Kevin asked her, what price did you pay for what you did to your husband? She kind of danced around it for a minute. She didn't come up with a price. She was like, nothing. I stayed. You should be thankful. What? If you stepped out on your woman and you guys had a differences, or at least you were talking about stepping out on her and she found out, there will be a price to pay for you before she would accept you back into her good graces. And as men, we have to hold women to a standard. And when they cross the line, whatever penalty you have set up for that crossing of the line, you have to execute it. She's going to be pissed off, but she's going to respect you. She's going to respect you and know that you're a different breed of man than the other men that she has met. You know what she's going to say? Who the hell do you think you are? But when her emotions subside, she's going to say, this nigga is different. Who the hell is he? But I like him. Because a woman is also a good man. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, is that what you're talking about when it comes to an example for the lady? You're talking about her character would have to basically have a standard. Her character should be based on her standard. She would have to have a conduct that reflects your own. If she wasn't you, meaning like the thing is when it comes to having to be with someone, right? And let's say you have to put a mirror in their face. Like if you're that constantly have to put a reflection in their face, then they have issues. They themselves have issues. And if they're being reminded of
What do you
themselves
mean
and
they
how they're
have
acting,
issues? Whoa. Back it up.
Okay,
What do you mean?
so when I say issues, I mean like let's say I use my own self example. Me and my wife, right? In the beginning, everything roses, honeymoon phase, all that stuff seems good. Then you live with them and you start to see things, and you're like you said, you don't deal
Are you
with
saying
people.
you're living together or you're just dating still?
Oh no, we're married. We're married. We're
Oh,
married
okay.
now.
You're married. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we basically, as we're married and years go out, we start to see things that a little differently, like, yo, you wasn't doing this, or where did this character come from? Or like, why are you always, or better yet, because everyone puts their best foot forward, you never see certain things. Now you're starting to see the real person come out, and it's like, well, what is this? Like,
Well,
I
what's
see
the
that you
time
got
frame that you're looking at where you said you didn't see certain things?
about 3 years. She held a good mass for about 3 years.
No, I'm saying, okay, 3 years in a marriage or 3 years before you
Yeah,
got
3 years
married?
in a marriage. In a marriage.
Okay, all right, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So that's all context. So basically, she has some anger issues, right? And I'm like, oh, what is you so angry about, yo? Because I know my worth. I'm like, yo, I'm not for all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm never this way with you. So why do you feel you could be this way with me? So I had to put that mirror in her face to help her self-reflect and figure out where is that coming from. Because if it's not me, because I'm not the one causing the anger in you.
What I would say to that, and it's not necessarily to you, but to the chat and everyone who's listening,
Mm.
is that women shit test men. And the purpose of the shit test is to see what kind of guy you are.
Mm.
A man should shit test women. You got to test your woman. You got to give your woman loyalty tests. After you guys been dating for a while and you're in a relationship, bring her around your friends. If you got high value friends, take her around your friends. See what happens. You must have at least
And
one or two close high value friends.
and that's just to
If she
help
let him go
measure
too
the
far in a
discernment.
conversation, you're going to know about it. You got to test your woman, man. You got to test the loyalty of your woman. You got to test the attitude of your woman. You got to test the anger management issues of your woman. You got to test this woman, man. Because a woman snap on you out of the blue shouldn't happen. You
But
can't
that's what I was
cover
gonna
that
say.
for 3 years.
Yes, exactly.
Or,
That's what I said. Yeah.
or she's got a trigger and you just found out what that trigger is. That's a difficult one to find. If a woman just have a trigger, that's different, right? And you got to be careful because a woman that has a trigger probably have mental issues, right? She doesn't have normal emotional upsets. She got something that when a switch is flipped, she flips out. And she could do things that she regret moments later. That type of woman, you need to find that out early in a relationship. Sit tight a minute. Hey, Jay Prince, good afternoon. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Lee? Mo, Dr. Eugene. Okay, here go my thoughts to the topic. It's gonna be kind of.
Sure.
I like when you were saying you're gonna take the gloves off, because now it's finally a chance where I could just be 100% honest. A few months ago, a few months before I got onto the Lapeef show and all the other stuff, I went on this one platform. It was just a one-time thing, and that's because I was playing this game of chess. And I had just started playing it, and I must have said the game the chess game remind me of my black community. And
In
I
what
got on that
in what sense?
platform, huh?
In what sense?
It, like, for an example, like, you know how you get to your opponent's side of the board and you get to pick the pieces of their man to use against them.
That you want to replace?
Yeah, to use
Okay.
against them with their own men.
Right.
My thoughts was they crossed our side and they picked our women, which is our black queen, and they used our queen against us. When I started breaking it down, like, that chess game had me thinking and just constantly thinking. I'm like, damn. Then I Googled the definition of an enemy: hostile, your opponent, stuff like that, of that nature. I was like, damn. Black women, yeah, they look like us. They even might come from us. But
Well, they do.
everything they have displayed towards black men is the definition of an enemy. So when I went on that show, I said we need to sacrifice black women. And what I meant by
Define that. Define that more.
sacrificing black women, I meant was stop creating black women.
Stop praising them.
Stop creating.
What do you mean stop creating them?
Taking our sperm elsewhere, like the topic of the show, going exercising our other options.
Well, let me say this. As men, we should not think in the way in which women think. Women are vindictive and they lose control of their emotions and they do and say things that over time they tend to regret later. As a black man, you can't stop creating black women because you have the seed of not only all nations, but including our women in you. So whoever you lay down with, whether it's the first generation or the next generation, they're going to come out dark skinned. So you can't stop creating black women. What I would say is that when you deal with black women, you should be more conscious of what it is that you expect or want out of that black woman. And as black women en masse, someone in the chat recently said, stop calling them queens, right? Dethrone them in that way. Don't give them the accolades that they want to be referred to. And that's particularly by the men that they would want most. The men that are successful, the men that can offer them a lifestyle that they themselves could not provide for themselves, for those who lack. So the thing is withdraw that which you can give them that they can benefit from if they don't modify their behavior to suit what you want. But to say things similar to what a female YouTuber have said, that's not the kind of language we as black men should be using.
Oh, yeah, I can respect that, Lee. I just want to say two more other things that I've noticed in the black community with black women. For one, the leadership of black men. I believe the reason why black women challenges a lot of our black leadership because they got other options, other legal options to where they don't have to submit to our leadership. If they want to submit to our leadership, it's kind of by choice. And one thing I learned, if you give women choices, they can easily turn off your switch at any given time because they got a higher. They feel like their other options of leadership is way more powerful than the black man's. Also,
they're being upheld by the greater society. They have the physical protection of the law, police officers, and then they have the government and some private institution who offer them financial compensation for just being a woman.
It's almost like they're getting paid to disrespect us. They're getting paid to just like not have to really respect us.
Well, also, they're getting paid, and then they internalize that I'm better than you.
Yes,
right? And then that's why they behave in the way in which they do. It's no different than a brother that comes into a lot of money quickly. He start bragging, he start flashing. He he get online and he show up. He's got stacks. That's when someone who lacks the experience of having power or having wealth, they walk around displaying it overtly. People who are accustomed to wealth and power are more
laid back.
How can I say? Laid back, but more reserved, right? They're more reserved. You can't really tell where they're coming from. You can't, if you didn't know Bill Gates because of his face being posted everywhere, if you passed him in the street, you wouldn't know who he was.
Right.
But he's like one of the 10th richest men on the planet.
Some people want to be seen as rich, and a lot of people don't want to be. They don't want to be rich. They just want to be viewed as rich. That's what I had to ask myself before I continue my journey. I asked myself, like, do I want to be rich for myself, or do I want to appear to be rich? Which comes the flashiness and all this other good stuff. But I want to say one more thing, Mr. Lee, before I forget it. If black men get on the same page, and this is another reason why I blame black men for the reason why a lot of women acting the way they acting is because the simps. Black women is even if we stick to if we come up with a solid foundation of what black men is going to tolerate, we all got to be on one page. If we have that, if we all on one page, see the difference. The thing is, women is not going to abide by that because it's always going to be a simp to come and rescue them because they chasing that vagina so tough. They need validation from a woman so tough to the point where it's
Well,
going to overshadow what real men stand on.
okay,
We got to
I
get
would
rid
say
of the
this.
simps or, boost them up or give them something else. And we got to be on the same page to the point where when women do try to fuck up with me, they can't just go to MO because they think an MO is going to rescue them. I see that all the time on the platform. They use their little, pick me Olympics against each other to play us against each other. I see that
Well,
all the
I
time.
mean,
Go
the
ahead.
thing is, one, like I said, when I have my conversation today, I'm really talking to that 20% to 1% man, economically structured, because that man can exercise choice. He actually have the opportunity to choose better, meaning he could choose whoever and whatever he wants. He could choose a black woman, a black American woman, if he finds the one that meet his standards. He could choose a black woman from South America. He could choose a black woman from the continent, or he can choose another woman on the planet that he decides he wants, because he has the option to do that. I think we don't need, you shouldn't concern yourself with what simps do. Simps will be simps. But the thing is that when the women see that the men that they want, everybody else have and they don't have, they'll shut down the simps. And when the simps get shut down, they'll figure it out. We can't be concerned about men of lesser character. That's their problem. Definite G, welcome to the panel. Good afternoon, brother.
I'm doing all right. How are you, Mr. Lee?
I'm doing well.
Just to go on the topic, yeah, it just seems as though it's just because I said this before on plenty of other shows that women will say one thing yet do another. Like black women will say that they love us, that they want us, but yet their actions say otherwise. Like when we try to help them see where it's wrong, they shame us. They think that we're, hating on them, and they think that we're going to abuse them and stuff like that. It's like,
Well, let me stop you. Let me stop
yeah,
you right there and
hmm
interject. When you say
hmm
help them see where they have harmed us, a woman know if she's harming you or she's not harming you. You don't need to help her see it. She already know it. The fact that you're trying to help her to see that what she's doing to you is wrong, she still knows she has the power. If she does something
yes,
that hurts you, you need to punish her. I'm not saying physical punishment. Take something away from her that she's used to having. And when she asks why, tell her why.
yeah,
People
and
react to different type of stimuli, and they also react to the stimuli once it's removed. And as men, we have to be disciplined. And sometimes the thing that you take away from her, you might wind up taking away from yourself. Can you resist? Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you.
correct. Oh yeah, no problem. Um, yeah, I mean, you're completely right. It takes the awareness of the man and yeah, she already knows what she's doing. It just seems that, when Kevin Samuels was going in more depth and teaching them how to do it, it was just all vitriol and they kept fighting him. It's just black men, we gotta get ourselves together. For the good black women out there who are supporting us, yeah, obviously this not applies to you. That's if you're actually doing the work, the internal work, and you're actually supporting us, this doesn't have to apply to you. But at the same time, black men, we're kind of on our own out here. We gotta like get ourselves together. We gotta stand on our own 2 feet and get ourselves together because you know, it's we gotta move forward, you know. So I mean, I've dated outside of my race before. I mean, I've dated all over, and I didn't like the fear of black women ridiculing me. It didn't stop me. But at the same time, it's just that, you know, you black men, we have to understand who we are and just build ourselves to be better men for the community, and whoever comes with us, they can join us. But at the same time, we gotta move. We gotta stop asking for permission from now on. We gotta move, and whoever hates us, whoever loves us, we just keep going.
Absolutely right. Uh, Definitely, what I would say is that as men, we have to set our goals and expectations on what we want to achieve in life. And then as you start to achieve some of the things that you have set out to achieve, at some point you're going to want to have a woman in your life. And that's probably going to be in your mid 30s or thereabouts. The difficulty with having a woman from when you're very young is that when you're by yourself, you can move. You can move up, down, lateral. You can move in any direction you want to get the things that you want to go after. Once you have a wife or a steady girlfriend that you're committed to, you don't have that flexibility to move like you need to sometimes. And that can hamper and slow your growth. Depends. Because some women, they want nice things and they want it now. Not not many women in today's culture and life, and that's black or otherwise. I'm not speaking just for black women in this particular point. Women in general, they like nice things, and the world advertise nice things to them daily. So it's very difficult to find a woman that you can be with when you're young and you're just starting out economically, for her to stay with you, or even if she does, for her to make your life peaceful while you try to build on your goals and objectives that you're going after. So I think why Kevin and many other brothers say, look to take a serious girlfriend in your 30s, because by then you've built up some years of experience, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of experience. If you've worked in the same industry from you left the university at 21, 22, whatever, you've got some experience. You got something to offer a company when you move on to the next company. Now your income is going to go up significantly. 8 years worth of skill is a lot of skill. And at that point, when you bring a woman into your life, you have some vision as to what you want out of your life. If you're trying to figure it out and she's trying to figure it out, the society is not structured like it was 60, 70, 100 years ago, where two people could get married at 19 and 18, and everything around them, their neighbors, people up the block that they knew or didn't know, their family, 2, 3 generations deep, they all had the same structured life. So everywhere they looked, they had guidance. Today, there is no guidance. Everybody is a drone by themselves. And it's very difficult when you with someone and you're literally the same age or 1 or 2 years different from one another, for you to be able to really care for someone else and provide for them the way they would want you to. It's just too difficult. So it's important that as a man, you kind of lay out what your expectations and what you want out of life early. I'll tell you an incident that happened to me that changed my life when I was a young boy. My dad passed away when I was 7. When my family got the telegram, they waited until nightfall to tell my brother and I. When I read the telegram, my father was a laborer. He worked with his hands. He worked with his back. He did hard work. I made a commitment to myself that day. I would never lift anything heavier than a pencil. I never broke that rule. When I went to the university, I studied architecture and structural engineering. When I got out, I worked for an engineering firm. When I left engineering, I went to Wall Street. To this day, my mind makes my money. The heaviest thing I've ever had to lift was a pen. So sometimes trauma can give you guidance to your own life. Every trauma is not self-destructive. That's why sometimes when I hear about trauma, everyone wants to use trauma as a crutch to be less than. No, all traumas are not destructive. You can use trauma to build yourself, strengthen yourself, give you purpose, and give you direction. Weak people use trauma as an excuse to be less. And I'm tired of that crap. And particularly when I hear it from men, and I'm not saying that I heard it from anyone here on this panel, but I hear it. When I hear it from men, it greatly disappoints me because I'm listening to someone who wants to wallow in his dirt like a pig. Just lazy. Just want somebody to give them something. And that's why, as much as I say we deserve reparations in America, I ain't sitting around waiting for it. I'm not sitting around waiting for it. You should be, you know what you do? Make yourself, if there was 2 million millionaires in America that was black, we could get reparations like that. Because we would have the organizational ability, we would have the infrastructure ability, and we will have the persuasive ability because of the industries and business and politics and things that we will be in, that we would be able to come together to make it happen and take it to the United Nations and get paid. The reason why we don't get reparations, because we broke. And when you borrowing money from someone, what do they say? Hey man, I need a G. Yo, I only got 300, man. All right, I'll take it. When you broke, you take what you can get. You take what you can get. When you're strong, you demand what you want, and then you get it. And we have to stop being weak and begging. I don't like begging. Scripture says a beggar should not live. That's a cold scripture. Not many people want to read that scripture. And I'm sure your minister will never read it to you in the church. But the Bible says a beggar should not live. Because the Lord don't like a beggar. Because every man is supposed to work. Period. Now, some men work harder than others. Some men work smarter and harder than others. And some men may just get lucky. But whatever it is, you got to put your back into it. You got to put your hand to the grindstone. You got to build yourself up if you want something out of life. And if there was enough strong, powerful black men in America, reparations would be a foregone conclusions. And we would get more than we anticipated because we would make the argument. And there would be smart enough black men to make the calculations. And we would get the support of nations around the world to justify why we should get paid. Because everybody else get paid. The reason why we can't get it is because to the world and to America, y'all begging. We give you our free programs. We give you our projects. We give you our Section 8. We give you our EBT card. We give you a lot of shit. What you begging for now? You just want something else. We got to stop that crap. We got to build ourselves, make ourselves strong, and then we got to step to them and say, this is what we want. You got to demand what you want, and that's how you get what you want. If you beg for what you want, you get crap. You get scraps. You get the same thing you give your dog at the end of the night when you finish eating. You scrape all the plates into one plate, and then you take that plate and scrape it into his bowl, and that's what he gets. And that's how we are treated. So it's not a matter of whether or not if black men will come together. I think if black men have a purpose and we focus on building ourselves up, as we build and we rise up into the society, we will find that there's a club that's developing among black men, that black men are laying infrastructures where we can have a membership club for ourselves to come together and do things. Because the higher you go up, you have to be able to leverage money, access. That's why Kevin talked about your network. Because your network Also, you were using your network as leverage to get you in places that you don't have the access to, but your partner does. And your partner can say, "This my man." Introduce him to the mayor. "This my man." Introduce him to the head of HUD. "This my man." Introduce him to Homeland Security chief. That's how you get places. But you don't. We. I don't know, man. I look and I see the stuff that go on online, and it hurts my heart. Hold on one second. DJ Gemini. Good afternoon. DJ Gemini. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you
Okay.
guys doing?
Okay, very good. Talk to me. Welcome back to Sage Talk.
I was saying, nice to see you again, Mr. Lee. Hey, what's going on, everybody? You know, obviously, like I definitely like seeing you guys. You guys all made some great points, and the thing is that I've been a guy that's been raised by a feminine society. So the thing is that like, you know, I've been on this new journey for the past year and a half after my divorce and understanding what it is to be a man. So Kevin Samuels and a few other podcasts, whatever, kind of introduced me into the manosphere. And it helped me like understand that my emotional nature was kind of like destructive. And, you know, Marvelous Mo, he said that, you know, his woman slightly changed up on him. You know, me being divorced, like I had a certain standard to myself growing up in like the hood. Like I told myself that, you know, I see my brothers and sisters and stuff dealing with relationships where, you know, there was a lot of physical altercations. And I'm just like, I don't like that. So I told myself that I'm going to set out to get a better quality of life and find a better woman. At that time, I told myself I would never date a black woman. Like, it's just the things that I see. But my wife that I found, she displayed characteristics that I was looking for. So she was, my ex-wife is black, but she showed qualities that I was actually looking for. So I kind of changed my mindset. We got divorced eventually, but what happened is that her mask pretty much came off, and then we started butting heads. So the thing is that eventually I just stopped fighting. I was like, you know, I give up on this. So, you know, I hear people on like different podcasts and stuff, and like they talk about this word simp. And like, you know, a simp for the most part is just a guy, for the most part, raised by a woman that's very emotional. And like I think that this is the destruction that not having a man inside the household, this is what happens. So me being a potential simp myself, having strong women as my inspiration led to me being emotional and eventually not being attractive to my my ex-wife anymore. So I can say that I have seen the result of being a feminine man, very emotional, things happening, me not being able to hold my frame. So, I mean, honestly, I just want to say that I think like we throw the word simp around a lot, but the thing is that we all come from our background. We see strong women now more than anything. So the thing is that the only way for us to combat and make actual our society better is that we need to make sure that we push, like regardless of anything, we need all the guys to hold frame and let the women know that no, men are the prize. We will create the world to make it prosperous for you. But if we continue to let women consistently bash us, consistently say that, you know, we ain't nothing. We are the mothers are our teachers. The man is the teacher of the woman is a teacher of the children, and it's a full circle. So I'd say,
Okay.
um, I don't know.
Well, what I
It's
would say, first of all, thank you very much for making that admittance. I think with regard to the whole simp thing, and there are many different people that classified differently, but I would say this in general, particularly in Black America, most men or boys who become men are raised by single mothers. But in a home where there is a father, all children, male and female, are primarily raised by their mothers. The thing is that when the father is there, the father provides some balance for the mother's overprotection of the kids, both the male and the female. The father gives them more structure. The father shows them that there are consequences to behavior, actions, and words. One of the things I would say with regard to simp, I would say a simp is someone who does something for a woman with the expectation of getting something back, but do not get it, but they keep doing it anyway, hoping that one day, they will get it. And when the women misbehave, they never hold the woman accountable. They find a way to defend her behavior to make it palatable and make an argument against another man who would want to hold that woman accountable for her misbehavior. So being in the manosphere, I think as you spend more time, listen to different content creators, there'll be some that will be, you know, way off to the left and maybe some that'll be way off to the right. You know, study what's best for you and what outcome you want to have, right? Because for a man choosing a wife, I wouldn't say choose a wife or a girlfriend because it will start there with someone who based on color. No, you should base it on something more substantive, character, personality. Obviously, her beauty will be the attraction that bring you together to have the conversation. But once you are developing that conversation, you need to find out what kind of a woman this is. It's important that you meet the mother of that woman. And I would say this, whatever you see in the behavior of the woman is in the child, whether she display it presently or not, it's in her. And at some point, it will come out. So get to know the mother as best as you can in terms of social events, right? You're not going to be spending a lot of time in the home of a woman unless maybe you're her son-in-law. But before that happens, especially if you have the money, take them out to dinner, take them out to a golf course, take them out and do something where you can kind of spend some time with her and her mother and you can watch the interaction between them because women throw signals all day long. And if you're acute to it, pay attention. You don't have to call it out, just pay attention. Make notes of the signals that are being cast back and forth. Okay, I would say that. 1 second. Dr. David, welcome to Sage Talk again. I'm graced with you coming up twice in a week.
Hello, Mr. Lee. Thank you very much for having me. I really
Sure.
appreciate you. I'm always happy to wait behind, even if it's for 45 minutes, 1 hour, because you always give the needed conversation and you speak a lot of truth, and I really appreciate you. I mean, that's the main part of my calling because you try to hold both sides accountable. The comment you made about the guys who go abroad and want to increase body count and things like that. I think that's something a lot of people in the manosphere don't talk about, and a lot of people just talk about the fact that what, the man should just do whatever he wants to do and have fun and all those things. But one of the things that Kevin said that really resonated with me when I first started to watch him was he said there is an image issue with the black man in America, and that comment really resonated with me because I think it's something that we all should be concerned about, our image as black men, and I think that's why his channel started with talking about fragrances, your wardrobe as a man, shoes that you should have, clothes that you should wear and things like that because image was very important. And then after a while, we've all heard it. You can't put someone who is not on the right path in a suit. It's just going to be a wrong person in a suit. The suit's not going to change it. And then his content started to talk specifically to men on how to improve themselves and how to be better versions of themselves. And I think that's one of the things that you do with your show, keeping both accountable. And I think it's very important. The only question or the only thing that I wanted to just highlight was it's interesting that a lot of men like yourself try to talk to men and hold men accountable and give us advice on things that we need to know. And for a big part, I think a lot of young men listen to men who are doing it and making it happen. You share your story about how you went from studying to going to Wall Street and all those things, and myself having the same kind of pathway. Finishing my master's and PhD in chemical engineering and working in the industry. I understand everything you talk about, and that's why a lot of young men listen to people like you who have done it. But one question that always happens, and I think Kevin talked about on his channel, when people call in and say, "Oh, it's your tone, it's your tone." He always asks them like, "Who is one black man who is talking to black women that black women are listening to that has the right tone? Tell me who that person is, and I will talk like that person." He always asks them that question. He always says, is it this comedian guy, or is it this other person? Just mention one person that talks to black women in the right way and checks them and holds them accountable, and they listen to that person. And I will change my tone to fit that person. And they are always not able to come up with that person because the truth is, when black women are checked, they don't listen. I mean, even Monique tried to tell them about having a bonnet on and all those things, and they just chew the sign language on that lady, shame, insult, guilt, and they just started going after that woman. And it's something that I figured out that there's no one person who can actually like check them and say, oh, this is what you're doing wrong and this is what you should improve on, and they would actually listen. And I think it's a problem, especially for the future generation, that we have a group of women who cannot listen to anybody and say, oh, okay, they're saying something right, I should listen and I should do better. So it's just something that has always concerned, or has always been a thought for me, that a lot of people talk on YouTube, but there's no one who actually talks to with black women and they listen and say, okay, yeah, we agree with how we're going to do better. It's just something that I think we should definitely do think about. But I'm enjoying the conversation, and I'll just mute for a while.
Appreciate it. Well, first of all, Victim Olympics had a question. He says, a doctor of what? So why don't you tell us what your doctorate specialty is?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I did my master's in chemical engineering, and then I did my PhD as well in chemical engineering. I specialize in the energy space. Like I said the other time I came on first time, I run a mud logging company. So mud logging company is basically the companies that deal with the mud when they're trying to drill oil from the offshore platforms and things like that. And then I also run a renewable energy company. Basically, we design battery systems for houses, for industries, and things like that. Just pretty much like a Tesla power wall and things like that. And then we make other things like electric golf buggies, electric trains and tractors and things like that. And that's some of the things that I do. And obviously, I invest into property and things like that. So basically, I'm a doctor of chemical engineering, if you want to simply put it that way.
All right, very good. Thank you. One of the things I would say with regard to your overall comment when you said that Kevin would ask various black women when they would come up on a panel in discussions to name a black man that could talk to or correct black women that they would respect. And I think the bottom line is that there isn't a man, there isn't a black man that black women respect. That's why they could never think of one. But I think if he would have asked them the question about a white man, they probably would have been able to give an answer to that. And maybe one day I would ask that question, but I'm not ready for that show yet. Okay. Dion Yee, welcome to Sage Talk. I believe this is the first time I'm seeing you, brother. What do you have to add for the conversation? You're muted.
Thank you. No, I was saying I've been on here before. It's been a minute though.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't quite
Gentlemen,
recall your face.
Gentlemen, I hope everybody's doing well. This has been a good conversation. I know one thing I like that you said as far as we need to have standards. As men, if we can't lead, there's no way we can expect a woman to follow. So if we don't have standards, if we don't have character, if we don't have principle, we don't need to be talking to a woman in a serious manner. That's one. Also, one thing I learned, when you know what you want, it's a lot easier. It's a whole lot easier as far as—
What do you mean it's a lot? What do you mean it's a lot easier? Give me an example of what you're trying to say.
It's a lot easier as far as the type of woman that you want when you understand, such as communication.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times I end up going back and forth with the woman. And then it came to a point where I'll listen. I'll let her express herself. I'll start talking. She can interrupt me. I'll be like, hold on. Let me finish. I'll listen to you. Now, she keeps trying to overtalk me. I know that's a woman I don't need to deal with.
Okay,
But if she stands down, and we can have a conversation, I can continue to talk to her.
Okay, so and that's one of the things. Communication is major in any relationship, and that's for business and personal life.
Right.
And I'm glad you said that, because what it shows is that you have set up some potential red flag monitors
Exactly.
of a potential woman that if she doesn't have the wherewithal to allow you to speak after you have allowed her to speak, that's one of those one of the sign things that Kevin talked about, her need to be right. Because when you
Correct.
start speaking, it's going to point out where she may have faltered or lacked. And she don't want to hear it, so she's going to defend herself, which means she's going to interrupt you because she's not going to allow you to finish your point because her feelings might get hurt or something like that. Absolutely. Perfect.
Mr.
Anything
Lee, can
else?
I add to that? I'll just add to what he was
Yeah.
talking about. All right, so
Sure.
basically what you're saying, sir, is to know what you want and to know yourself, basically. If you know what you want, then you know yourself. Most people, like I said earlier, don't really know much of anything. They don't really able to grow in life because they first don't know themselves, and they walk around aimlessly, bumping their heads, making mistakes, and it's themselves they should work on first. Like you said, once you know what you want, it does become easy because it's easy to see yourself in others. And like you said, you saw that when you asked her a question and she interrupts you, well, that's not something that you would do. So it's obviously easy to discern yourself, be like, okay, you're not for me. You know what I'm saying? That's because you first start by knowing who you are, knowing your worth, know your values and what you want. But you got to do that first by first loving yourself first before you love anyone. That's my opinion. Continue though, my bad.
Okay.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that as well.
One second.
Another-
1 second. Yeah, go ahead. Because when you said know what you want, I thought you were referring to about what you want out of your life with regard to goals and expectations, but you were referring to the woman. So continue.
Correct. No, another thing I get out of that also is that woman willing to grow? Because if you're gonna get in a relationship, growth is important. and to see whether she's willing to stand down, whether we can have a conversation. Yes, I understand you get passionate sometimes. I understand that. But in the end, can we have a conversation? Is there growth in the relationship? So that's another thing that it reveals to me as well.
Okay, thank you very much. What's that? Is that Spro or Sprow? Am I saying that correctly? Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you, sir?
Hey, it's Spro. I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Okay, cool. Thanks.
A lot was said here. But just a few things that kind of come to mind, like just off the dome, just as far as everything everyone's talking about. I kind of think that it's getting to a place now in the manosphere and just in the conversation that's been had over the past few years, I would say, where we kind of got, I want to say, not pay attention to anything at all or not talk about it, like, because, you know, these things may come up. But I think, I don't want to say it was a failed experiment, but like the holding women accountable thing, it's one thing to check someone if they, you know, have a little bump. We all have little bumps. But someone that you need to continue to correct over and over, I would say that it's no point. And I don't know this for a fact, but it seemed as though Kevin, before he left, was starting to shift. And I can't speak for him. You know, he's not here anymore. And like, you know,
shift
we'll never
in
know.
what way? What did you perceive?
I
Explain
think
that a little bit more.
Things he was talking about, and maybe even the structure of like his show in particular, was going to shift to a point to where it's like, and again, this is just a theory in my opinion, but like I think we've gotten, I think the conversation of, you know, like holding Black women accountable and kind of like putting a magnifying glass to it. I think it's done what it needed to do for those who are willing to put in the work. And that goes for the men and the women. Men are bettering themselves. And then for honestly, it's the younger women and the women where it's not too late who listen, who are going to make the change. I don't think, like, because something I'm starting to notice is like the manosphere personally, like, helped me out in many, many ways. And for a lot of young men, you know, I'm going to just speak for myself. It was women that got me in there in the first place, you know, trouble with women. And then I learned so much more, you know, there was so much more to it. But something that I'm starting to notice is the Pookies and the Ray Rays are leaking in. And now they're going back out and they're taking our talking points, things about the discussion for those who care, that want to see the family grow, that want to see men and women in harmony. They're taking that stuff to justify all kinds of, kind of like what you were saying earlier about, like, you know, like a lot of cats think that, like, you know, going overseas and like kind of racking up this butt like this, it's the same exact thing that we criticize the women for doing, but now I'm starting to see it in the manosphere. I'm starting to see it amongst the brothers, not all, but a little bit. And I think that,
when you say you see it amongst the brothers, you're saying that you're seeing unaccountability amongst men in the manosphere. Is that what you're saying?
For different things, not so much not unaccountability, but like this bitterness, this resentment, this, oh, I'm going to point out like you did this and you and you and you. Now there was a time, because, you know, we didn't say nothing to the sisters. No one knew. We talked about it in the barbershops, in the locker rooms. Yeah, sorry.
Right. Let me try and get clarity on where you're applying this to. Are you referring to the Pookies and Ray Rays? Because you said they're getting the talking points and then they're going out there and using it.
I think the Pookies and Ray Rays are a problem. They're part of the problem. But I think even well-meaning brothers who are just hurt and confused, and they just have so much pent up frustration from over years and years of just, you know, for different reasons. It's not even so much the women, but now there's finally I'm from a single mom. I can just blame my mom. Oh, my failed relationship. I have trouble, you know, in all my relationships. Yo, it's them. And now there's finally something else, because, you know, Black men, we've been dogged on for so long, especially from our own women, that now it's like, gotcha. Like, and now we finally have something where we can, and they're valid points. But I think
I would say this to what you're what you're presenting. I think the reaction is valid because when you come into the knowledge of knowing that you have been abused and you didn't know you were being abused, you get angry. And sometimes you get angry at the people who did it to you. Everybody, that's why they say there's red pill rage, right?
Yeah.
Because the rage is different for some people. Some people it might be a longer period of time. Some people might spike real high, but then it comes down real sharp too. They don't remain angry for a long time. And then they get into the content. And then they don't hate the people that did it. They just now is aware, so they don't allow them themselves to be manipulated in the future. And depending on who it is, if they can have that talk with them, whether it's a sister, whether it's a mom, whether it's another woman in your family, or even a simp brother, you know, you may have that conversation to let them know, like, these things that happened in the past ain't gonna happen no more. I understand what happened. So the rage is necessary for those who, when you're going through the awakening, right? So it's an awakening period. So it is necessary because if you try to suppress the rage, what happens is that sometimes, in engineering, because I worked in at nuclear facilities, we used to have a saying: pressure make a pipe bust. It doesn't matter if it's a 6-foot pipe that you can walk through or if it's a 3-inch pipe that you hold in your hand. Enough pressure goes through it. If you don't have the proper weld unions to hold it down or maintain the flow of the pressure, it's going to blow it right open. And people going to get killed or hurt real bad. So if you try to suppress when they're coming into that knowledge and their reaction to it, it's going to come out someplace else. It's going to display itself someplace else. And when it come out someplace else, it's going to be uncontrollable. So it's important that that they're allowed that space to vent.
I agree.
But
That's
I
what
think
happened to
one of
me.
the things that this show and because of my experience in my life, I can offer brothers like that is soft landing, how to manage it better and how to move on from it once they come into the knowledge, right? Because yes, there are some places where you're going to go on YouTube and they're going to be pointing the finger and they're going to be railing and carrying on, but sometimes that's necessary too. Because all the time you thought it was you that was effing up. And it's not you that's effing up. It's this conspiracy around you by everybody that you thought cared about you. So it's a rightful response. How far it goes, obviously, you want to make sure a brother doesn't become detrimental to himself and those around him. And in those cases, hopefully, if he's in this space, somebody will send him the link to one of my show. Somebody will talk to him. He might see it on one of those clips. He might make his way over here just like you have, right? So the thing is, I think there's enough different content creators in the Black Manosphere that based on the stages that a brother's awakening is, he can find the information that he needs to fully educate himself and prepare himself for the next stage of his life. So that's how I would
I could dig
respond
it.
to that.
One more question. And
Sure.
for anyone, do you think, I don't want to say it's getting tired, but like, do you think that there should come a point to where now, and I guess like there would be, the same, things that were said before, for, brothers and sisters that are coming in, et cetera, but maybe, because like, I think it's like, it's getting to a point now where it's like maybe it's just personally, but it's like, I
Sure.
know what the problem is. So like now I kind of find myself at a point where I'm like, yo, I'm not even gonna, kind of like tunnel vision, like I don't like, she didn't. And for the record, I am married, but
Okay.
like, for like someone else who I'm telling like, yo, like, don't worry about like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. Like, I had to check her on this. I'm like, yo, why is she even in the conversation? Why is that even a part of the discussion? We look for, these are the things that we're looking for. So only deal with that. Only concern yourself with, like, we already know what it is. So we should only concern ourselves with what is correct. It's gotten old. Like, yeah, we know, like the bonnet babes, the boss babes, like we already know that ain't that. So
well,
why
one of the
even
things I would what I would say to that is that you've graduated and moved on. Every year or every month or every week, there are new recruits coming in. There are new brothers being awakened.
Okay.
And I remember I was a teacher for 8 years. And every day, every new year, August, September, I had a new fresh grade of either seventh graders or eighth grader, depending on what's the lowest grade I was going to be teaching in secondary school at that time. So I already had a program established for what I will be teaching. But then I would also do in the first week an orientation to try to get a sense of what my students already know. So I think one of the things that you might be interacting with some of the people that you are familiar with is that they're still in stage one. They just came into high school. You're a senior or you're a junior and they're a freshman and they haven't gone to the next grade yet. They're not a sophomore, they're not a junior. So they're still dealing with freshman things. Some people might take them a year, some people 6 months, some people 90 days. Different men process this kind of pain and information differently. So what I would say, for those who interact with you is help them help them process the information and move into the next stage. Especially if they're not dealing with a woman that's their his wife. If it's a woman that's just temporarily in his life like a girlfriend, help him with the tools to evaluate whether this woman deserves to be in his life longer term. And if she's not, help him to develop the strength where he can tell her goodbye. Because walking away from the woman takes strength. It takes strength of mind. And then to deal with the blowback, because she's not going to want to get dumped. She'd rather come back and dump you 3 months later, right? Or a month later. She's not going to want to get dumped. But you're going to have to now deal with or teach him how to deal with that. And the way she's going to try to come back is to give him some sex. Because finding new cooch for a man is more difficult than a woman to find new D, right? So you're going to have to coach him and help him work his way past that situation to then, move on, get his head together, and then go to the next stage. And then start setting some boundaries in his life, start setting some standards in his life. If he didn't have none from before, have him cope with the knowledge that he has, that now when he meet another woman, he knows how to screen her better so he doesn't deal with the issues of the past. That's what I would suggest to that. Hold on one second.
Brilliant.
Jada Mike.
Brilliant. Goodness
Good
gracious.
afternoon. Welcome, Jada Mike.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Well, loud and clear.
All right, good. Yeah, I want to say good conversation. I wanted to talk about really simply two things that was kind of mentioned. First was kind of the one thing of simp that I was talking about. There's many different definitions about it that obviously kind of get misconstrued a lot. But I think simp is really, regardless of terms of it being a byproduct of an environment, i.e., being raised by an environment of women, know any type of male figure to actually be under someone's covering to actually mold you to be a man. And I think it's more of a choice because of the terms of or simp is you belittling yourself and thinking that you are going to get something in return for more materialistic things to give into women, and yet you're basically devaluing yourself as a man, not really having any sense of standard that you stand on, and yet you expect that from a woman you claim you think you deserve because you're, i.e., nice or whatever. It goes to the whole thing, the same thing of the term nice guy, right? We're not talking about good men, we're talking about nice guys, and there's a distinction. In terms of we're talking about as black men having the options, I think a lot of times that one, as black men, we kind of failing to identify what network for us to be affiliated with, because we can choose the men we associate to be to hold us accountable, to be stronger men and be edifying men in terms of striving to be ambitious, striving to be better and stuff. We can't pick that right, and how can we choose our women right? And I think that's unfortunately the society is now we're learning things backwards, where we're trying to effeminate the men and yet taking away the things that basically built this nation in terms of us being standing on our morals and our foundation. right? And I think a lot of today men, we kind of mistaking, flighting for gliding. We think that what Kevin Steen was always referring to is showing your work. We think we deserve something. We have not worked or haven't reject the process of being the men we say we claim we want to be, right? And I think that the point that you were making about um as men standing up for yourself, I think that goes back to, again, just showing your work and not rejecting the process of forging, especially boys to be men, and hence getting the options that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I would say is that, like I know you recently graduated college, right?
I got one more class I got taking the summer, and,
Oh,
and
okay.
yes,
All
go
right.
ahead.
But I think one of the things that I would like to see is that, young black professionals, I think you guys need to start developing. I could start out online, but then it can filter down into physical spaces as well. Is a man's club where men could come together and talk about man shit and do man shit and share, because one of the benefits that women have above us is that women always, they're social creatures. They're always gathered together in groups. They go to the bathroom together. That's something men do not do, right? So I think we need to, besides these spaces where we could just come and talk about the difficulties, not talking about the difficulties, but just hang as men and share some experience with each other and talk about goals and objectives and share some achievements and things like that, and what you're doing and where you're going and whatnot. And just offer a space where black men could bond together as black men, and at the same time, create a space where you can build in your masculinity as a masculine black man from men that are older than you with more experience, and that may be able to teach it down, pass it forward, but pass it down to the younger men who may have lacked some or all of those necessary attributes growing up. Jada,
Right.
Mike, you was going to say something?
And if I may, I want to go to what the point, I guess, her term, the Pookie and Ray Rays that kept coming in. It's like saying that there still is a problem. You have a point that there's still a problem. But again, in life, there's winners and losers, right? I think, as much as we talking about us having this brotherhood that we claim we have, we also have certain criteria to be part of that. Hence, we decide, hey, we don't affiliate with you. You can't. You have the right to call yourself an actual man if you uh, engaging in childish behavior, right? So I think the whole thing about lacking sexual discipline, lacking any teams of throwing your seed as freely as though if it was water, right? We don't give that saying that to those men that you have a right to be us when we're at the golf court or at the barber shop talking about ideas, right? When we're talking about
Well,
things about,
if it's a men's club, usually clubs require membership, and
exactly.
whoever the people who establish it, they set the guidelines and the criteria for membership. And membership could be, you can have a 60-day trial membership to see how you conduct yourself amongst the rest of the members. And if you behave yourself unbecoming, you can be excommunicated from the membership until at some future time you grow up or behave better, right?
Mhm.
So the focus on Pookies and Ray Rays, I mean, I would like to say going forward, for the degree in which we can use them and cite them for educational purposes, that would be the most I would really give them credit. To use them as situations where there are obstacles to your objectives and goals and success, how is that possible?
Mhm.
You should be moving in a whole new different direction than they are. You should be going and dealing in places where they don't even know exists. So a Pookie and a Railway should never be in your. You guys should be traveling parallel. You will never cross.
Right.
You will never cross. And the woman you deal with, if you see her in association with a Pookie and a Ray Ray, cut her from your list. She shouldn't be part of your circle of women, because she's the type of woman will bring that kind of element into your area. So you as the man have to determine that this is not the kind of woman I need in my circle, and move her out of your circle. So as a man, you have to be aware of the type of woman you're dealing with. Just this past week, we had a young man who got set up by his girlfriend and they killed him. They killed the man. They shot him up 6 times in the car. So, I mean, it's like, as men too, choosing better also mean you can't just get caught up behind a pretty face, light skin, nice hair, and a big booty. If that's your criteria standards, you're going to get taken. You're going to get played. Attraction is one thing, but if it's the sole determination for the type of woman you're going to bring into your circle, and you're a man that's climbing up in life, you're going to set yourself up for a big downfall, because some women, they can plot, they're conniving, and they will set you up to get rolled on, and people will take advantage of you. And today we can see day in and day out that people have no problem walking up and smoking people, man, without no hesitation, females or males. And we as black men should know that better than anyone, because we commit a lot of harm to ourselves. We talk about black power, buy black, this black, that black. But you would think all the bullets were black because they only hit us. I mean, like, really? Black people kill black people more than anything else, man. Talk about white supremacists. I don't want to hear shit about white supremacy if you smoking black people every day in and out for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody did nothing to your family. You just woke up on that side of the bed that day and you didn't have nothing better to do. Somebody said something you didn't like, and you know what? You're going to put them under the ground. What? No.
Yeah.
So it's not just the behavior of women, but there's behavior of how us as black men treat each other. And that's why my conversation was really tailored. It was focused on the men who have goals and aspirations and expectations, who are in the 20%, who wants to get to that 10%, who wants to get to that 5%, who wants to get to that 1%. Men who are building themselves up to shine in society.
Mm-hmm.
And the women that you will have around you and the circle of friends that you're going to have around you. If you grow up in a drug dealer neighborhood, when you leave, don't go back. I came up in the 70s in Harlem. Big drug dealer neighborhood, biggest in the world. When I got out of high school, I moved. I told my mother, I can't stay in this neighborhood. I moved. I wasn't even working. I was in college. They used to give you TAP to pay your tuition, and they gave you SEEK to buy your books and extra money. You know what I did? The major engineering books I needed, I bought those new. Everything else I bought used. I took the rest of that money and I got me a house and I rented it out in Brooklyn. I moved from Manhattan to Brooklyn. And that's how I was able to go to school. Straight up. What I'm saying is, you got to look how you want to make your life, and you got to go for it. And you can't let society, your friends, your environment, your community, your mama, your brothers and sisters, you can't let other people who don't see what you see stop you or be a hindrance. Cut people off. I had a best friend for 10 years. He fucked me over one too many times. I called him up and I said, yo, we can't be friends no more. And this was the brother that if I had any trouble, drama, I just give him a call. He will meet me anywhere, anytime, day or night. But he was also a hindrance to my life. And I had to weigh that in the balance, because I'm not the kind of guy to move in a certain way where I need that kind of, that kind of trouble or that kind of weight. So I settled problems differently. But he was that kind of guy, and we kind of grew up together. So, but after a while, I had to say, you know what? I got to cut him loose, because his drama is going to start detracting from my life. And as men, we have to evaluate. It doesn't mean you don't like them anymore. You keep them at arm's distance. You say hello to them on major holidays or something, particularly family. But that's it. You don't hang. How come you don't hang around? Oh, I've been busy. I've been traveling. I've been doing this. You know what? I'm gonna come around and see you next week. Next week is next year. Keep putting them off. You got to do that for you. When you become successful, you know what they're gonna say? I knew he was gonna do it. I knew he was gonna do it. He always had it in him. That's what they're gonna say. But then if you follow what they do and you hang out with them, when you fail, they're gonna say, "Ah, you were talking shit anyway." Doesn't matter how it turned out. They're gonna have the right answer. All right. Let's see. Hey, Definite G, I'm gonna have to drop you down. I like to bring up a couple more people.
I'm gonna say something before I go.
All right, cool.
Yeah, Jedi. Yeah, Jedi Mike
Go ahead, Chuck.
and you, Mr. Lee, already touched on something that I wanted to touch on. If you have to diminish yourself in order to be with a woman, or at least to prop her up, that's the woman that you shouldn't be with, or a woman that you don't deserve. And what you said, Mr. Lee, is very powerful, actually, to women, is that if you're willing to walk away from her, you're like, you know what, this is crazy. She's not, up to par. She's not living up to my standards. That's actually more powerful than trying to tolerate her, bullshit. So what really is comes down to is that men that, again, even Marvelous Opinion said this, to know yourself, know what you really want, and then stand for it, like regardless of the backlash, regardless of who is going to come in and out of your life, is because, like, just for your own sanity, that's more important for a man, to have his own path and have his own disposition about himself and how he's going to carry himself, and then sticking true to that, just for your own sanity, man. So obviously the women are going to be selfish. They're going to choose what's best for them. But at the same time, men, choose what's best for you. Like, be the man that you want to be, and don't compromise. Like, all that bullshit, marriage comes with compromise. I don't agree with that. Men can be whole within themselves, and the woman can be whole within herself, and you guys don't have to diminish in order to appease one another. So that's what I wanted to say. And Mr. Lee, thank you for your time, and see you next week.
Okay, sure.
Thanks
Appreciate
for coming up here, G.
Okay, I wanted to bring up this other brother, True Table. Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you, sir?
I'm good, gentlemen. How are you?
Okay, talk to me.
Great conversation overall. Always, you guys put out quality content, which is why I follow and tune in regularly. One of the things I wanted to add to the conversation is that there is definitely a lot of things that are, how do I say, blended into our psyche that is a Black community. And one of the things that I've seen Dr. Claude Anderson speak on is the fact that Black people need to have their own economy. And I know that, we talk about generational wealth, we talk about building family, we talk about the nuclear family, but I think a bigger part of that is that we have to, as men in our communities, decide what our particular focal point is going to be as far as what the representation is going to be. I believe.
What do you mean when you say representation?
Okay. I think that we glorify more of our celebrities, our sports figures, and people who are out in front, rather than those people who are local heroes, who are the teachers and the coaches. I know most of you guys, I'm assuming most of you guys seen that movie, Coach Carter. That man was powerful. He had a vision, he had a standard. And why he was so impactful was because he was from the community, but he was instilling things into those men to get them to think different. We do not have that.
That was also the last time period in which men was in school in terms of administrators and teachers in middle school, PS school, and even into high school. Now you don't see those men in the high school anymore.
Oh no, yeah,
in middle school, yeah.
No, yeah,
So
a lot of things have changed. We could talk about the church and all those things and how that even helped to usher some of the things that we're missing. But I just wanted to, in a sense, add to that, because I think that the conversations are happening. I think that we are now touching on things that are necessary, but I do believe that there's still a huge amount of affection that is towards our media. When I watch Black media, there's a category on it on Netflix, and you watch Black media just highlighted, it's all about drugs. It's all about gangs. It's all about guns.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
What would you suggest as a remedy fix if you were given the authority to fix that issue with regard to the respect of black men who are who are professionals as opposed to entertainers? How would you go about trying to regulate that so the community will have a more balanced, if not a better perspective as to who to look up to?
Wow, that's a great question. I believe that it's going to require a joint effort. I believe that we're going to
Between
have
who
to
and who?
between men and men, men and men, men and women. I think that those figures need to play.
One of the things I would say is that for the things that we need change as men, we got to lead. The women who see and value what we're doing, they will follow. The women who do not want to see the change, they will object. So speak from the position of how would men execute something to affect that change?
Well, I think that men have to decide what the outcome of life they want to have and how they want to go ahead and create that.
No. I'm talking about you first came in and you were addressing part of the image, but how in our community we value the rappers and entertainers, but we don't necessarily value the doctors and teachers and engineers and so forth, right?
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
So how would you flip that?
Say, Mr. Lee, can I interject a little bit?
Okay, hold on one second.
Yeah.
I think you get some help in the bleachers. Who was that? DJ or Gemini?
DJ.
Okay,
yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to say I kind of agree to the intro, like when he first joined in. So I would say that because I see different people on the panel all the time. Like I see different people have different visions on things that they believe that would help. So I would say that this new generation, one thing that we're taught to value is the value of a man is money right now, right?
Okay.
So in this society, money is the standard. So why not whoever? I can't say for sure because I don't know exactly who everybody's financial background. So why don't, if somebody figured out the most legitimate way to make money, if you have your money set and you want to build up the community, why not just not necessarily make it free, but make it so you are the new schooling for guys to understand how money works, because everybody has their own little versions of ways that they make money, and then later on they might teach things a different way. But why not have everybody on the same premise of how money works, like a rich dad, poor dad, whatever. I think his name's Kawasaki or Kiyosaki, or
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki. So he explains inside the book whatever everything he learned from his rich dad to change his mindset about money, as far as assets versus liabilities. And the thing is that when you pay attention to the celebrities and stuff, spending 300,000 whatever, it's kind of like the early NBA syndrome. You get a new guy into the league, whatever, he's making all this money, but he only lasts about 5 years because he spent all his money on trying to buy things for this person, acquiring this car, doing this, instead of using that money, investing it towards things that will allow him to continuously make money. So when he retires, whatever, he can retire today, he can retire in a year, he can retire in the next 5 years, but his money is always working for him. So what happens is that if you figure out how to do it first, then when you have the next generation or you have buddies, colleagues, and stuff like that, everybody's on the same page as far as money goes. I think that the thing with our generation, like just black people in general, is that we're all trying to figure out how to gain the wealth that we see. But the thing is that we are taught that we need to be as flashy as possible. So therefore, we're spending money on liabilities versus assets. Like I recently learned that potentially, if I want to buy a house, I need to buy something. I need to buy a property that will make me money to eventually buy my house.
Okay.
That
All
way,
right.
my house will never be a burden. It's just a place that I have. But like my original asset will make me money to buy my house. So if I want to sell my house, it's it's not going to be a burden. It's just going to be like, hey, I want to get up. I want to go. I want to go to another country, live there for a little bit. In a couple of years, I want to go live somewhere else. I want to go to. I still haven't been to Disneyland, but like
Okay, but this is not answering the question that I posed to True Table. Marvelous opinion. What do you have to say?
Yeah, so with that question, I would say that it starts at home. So for me, when I coming up, my inspirations was my two older cousins. You know what I'm saying? Like they's the ones I looked up to. I ain't look up to no celebrities, none of that, all the glamour and the flash and stuff. It looks nice, but realistically, I can't call these people. I don't know these people. You know what I'm saying? And realistically, they don't give a damn about me either. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna. I'm not gonna like this is Mr. Lee. You probably don't know about this TV show. It was called Hey Arnold. It's a cartoon on Nickelodeon, and I learned this lesson even then as a child, when this one kid named Eugene met his hero, his this guy he looked up to, and they always tell you never meet your heroes. And when he actually got to meet this person, you know what I'm saying, just like I described, he ain't care about him. He says, "Kid's a TV show, not a real hero. What are you talking about?" You know what I'm saying? So it was living up to false expectations in the first place. What's on TV and what's on media ain't real life. Which also goes to what my man was talking about earlier. You're trying to live this life and show off all these things like you got it, but that's all for show. You don't know how these people's real spending habits are. You don't know what they really invested in. But they got to put on the show because they're entertainers at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So for me, the people I looked up to, like I said, my cousins, because they did what they did. Like personally, my one cousin, he's for football. I love football. So everything he did in football, I would kind of imitate, go to him for mentorship, or how you do this, do that. Someone who's actually tangible in my life, someone I can actually reach and grab. You can't talk to these people as much as you admire and goddamn worship the floor they on. They don't give a damn about you. But y'all put so much love and investment into these people who don't know anything about you. But y'all swear up and down that you know them because they share a few things and this and that. We're looking at, for example, Will Smith and his whole situation. People swear up and down they know what's going on in Will Smith's home. They don't know Will Smith. I don't care how open they are with certain things. You still don't know that man. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to us as a people, I say that it starts with you because you don't know who's looking at you. For me, I'm always humbled at times. I got all walks of life that come to me and say, like, yo, I look up to you, bro. You look like my big brother to me. Even my little brother who comes to me, who's just trying to call, he looked up to me and asked for my guidance and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure my brother don't got no heroes. I am his hero. I can proudly say that. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact I am because he told me. And I got some friends who I grew up with, and they look up to me also as an example. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got this going on in your life, you're doing that.
That's
You got all these things. That's how it is.
I like what you're saying, but it's only addressing it like one child at a time. And yes, one child at a time, that's good. That's one save that could have been lost, right? But how do we do a mass approach to kind of like just put the fire out instead
hey,
of trying to just do one little area? Hold on one second. Lord Gianthron. How are you, sir? Good afternoon. Maybe you can answer the question. I was going to step
Oh,
out there and make some suggestions, but
mhm.
first of all, welcome to Sage Talk. I think it's your first time I've seen you come on up on a panel. So add your
Yes.
conversation, add your words
How
to the
you guys doing this
conversation.
afternoon?
Doing well.
How you guys doing this evening? Everybody okay? I just left for
Doing
Kevin
good.
Samuel's
Yes.
memorial. That's-
Oh, awesome.
I like the
Awesome.
question you asked. I'm really hurting over Kevin right now. I really want to help and see. I want to contribute to Black men elevating and rising up and taking back and building up a community. In order to have a community, we have to have families. We have to
Take
choose
that
better.
pain and direct. I would say, not to cut you off, take that pain and direct it so it can come out in a positive way to help Black men and yourself. Obviously, sure. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. Um, One thing I'll say is this: it starts at the height of society, at the highest levels of society and community, which is the government. We got to get these liberals out of office. We got to get people like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama. He was a Black man, whatever. We can't look at if we like the person or not. We got to look at what their policies do to the Black community. Bill Clinton's mass incarceration crime bill of '94 ravaged the Black community. Barack Obama's gay marriage ravaged the Black community. He took laws and made it where a Hispanic has to be on the Supreme Court for all time to come. What about Black people? What has Hispanics done in the Black community or for this country where one of them should be on the Supreme Court for all time to come?
What I would add to that also is that Joe Biden just signed a bill or passed some money so they can give away free crack pipes in the Black community. What's up with that?
And my point is, Malcolm X said something way back in 1963. He said the greatest danger and threat to the Black community is the liberal white man, the Democrats. And since 1965, when Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a known racist, became president, and Kevin Samuels touched bases on this a lot, the Great Society, every policy that every Democrat has come into office has done more to damage and destroy the Black community from within than any good. Jimmy Carter took all the trades and stuff where Black boys would be able to go to high school, learn how to become auto mechanics, learn how to become welders, learn how to become carpenters, learn how to become HVAC technicians, plumbers, and get out of school and start their own businesses. They took all that out of the public schools and came up with No Child Left Behind. They had an episode, they had a segment of that on Good Times once, where JJ was making all these C's and passing just enough to get by where he could get out of school and get a job. But that was nothing. And James Evans called it out. I got 2 jobs. That ain't nothing. But my point is, Jimmy Carter took all the stuff out of schools and flooded America's streets with crack. All Reagan did was sit over America and was in office while crack was destroying the Black community. But Jimmy Carter's administration was the one that administered crack cocaine onto America's streets.
Let's not do a political history lesson. Lord,
okay, but my point is,
lesson. Let's tell me what we do now and how we
what
go
we do
forward.
now. We teach our Black people some good sense, not common sense. Common ain't so good. Teach them some good sense. Teach them that these Democrats and these
how do you propose we do that? Because many people are in true honesty, many people have been trying to do that unsuccessfully. I mean, you just mentioned Malcolm X. I mean, no one listened to him.
Right.
They quote him
so the point
because it sounds slick, but no one listens to him. If they did, we wouldn't have Black women voting at 90% for the Democratic Party and men voting at 80+% for the Democratic Party. So it's just talk.
Okay, so from within the Black community, number one, I heard y'all say something that was very touching. We got to start thinking with this. Stop thinking with that down there and start thinking with this. Stop reproducing out of wedlock. Start building homes and families. Get married. Be monogamous with our women. Stop having children by multiple women. Stop doing that, number one. Number two, demand that our women earn our attention. Fit, feminine, and friendly. Cooperative, inspiration.
You don't have to demand that. You give it.
Yeah, you do have to demand it because when you don't.
No. You have control over that. If the woman does not behave in the manner in which you want her to, leave.
Well, yeah.
If
Well, see, the point is,
if enough men step off on the women with bad behavior, they'll get the message.
well,
But the
see,
men are horny, desperate, and will plug anything with a hole in it. They don't care about the behavior. There's certain men you cannot get all men to do anything.
here's and another thing we have to do. Okay, you said how do we steer back and make better decisions? Well, we make them earn our attention and keep our attention. Yeah,
well, you know what'll make them earn our attention? That's why I say choose better. Did you see the thumbnail for this show?
Yeah.
When you choose women, when they start losing the top 10% men, the top 5% men, they'll figure shit out because black women ain't dumb.
I'm one of those 20%
act together. The ones who can will, and then black men will notice them and build relationships with them. Yeah. But if they're acting a fool, step off. You can't. Well, see, you can't force a woman. To it than that. We have been trying to reason with black women, talk to black women, persuade black women, force black women, and they ain't do shit. They ain't changing.
Right. It's more to it than that.
What's the option? So what's the option?
Well, Kevin Samuel said it a couple of weeks ago. Sell out. And I'm not saying it on a term of a negative connotation. But
right, I know
if we want black women,
I saw the show.
If we want black women, go get us a 18 to 22-year-old. I've done some research myself. And what I know is this, with the population of people in this country, every day, yesterday, 25,000 girls turned 18 years old. Today, 25,000 girls turned 18 years old. Tomorrow, another 25,000 girls are going to turn.
What percentage of these girls got tattoos all over their body and been fucking since they were 13?
Well, yeah, but the point that I'm making is this.
I'm making is those girls are not wife material, and there's nothing you can do about them. They are for the streets, and they're going straight there, headlong.
Yeah, but the point here's what I'm trying to get at. To answer your question.
Sure.
To answer your question, we know we live in a degenerative society. We know this. The society's degenerative. The behavior, the thinking, the perspective, the point of view is anti-productive. It's counterproductive. If it continues on, we won't exist in about 50 years in this country.
But
our descendants won't be looking like us. Say that again.
Do we have choice?
Yeah, we have choice.
That's false. You know why? Because after let me explain something to you. One moment. Let me explain something to you, Lord G. Thron. After the Spaniards left Central America and South America, the ones that stayed behind, the law was that everyone must mix. And they mix. In Latin America, the term is mejor la raza, improve the race. Every country you go through in Central America or South America, you're going to find a large population of all black people. You can't get rid of us because our gene is the original gene. You can mix it however you want.
I'm not talking about the nationality.
I'm talking about their parents. You're talking about their parents, right?
No, I'm talking about us as a whole. Being able to distinguish a black community, being able to distinguish a black community from everybody else. In 50 years, you will not be able to distinguish.
That's the parents.
No, it's more than just an appearance.
Well,
it's more than that.
There will be a black community 50 years from now, but it's going to be worse than the one we got now.
Yeah, it'll be non-existent.
No, it's not going to be. Black people are not going to go extinct. Let's get that.
It's not about extinction.
Okay, so when you say it's not going to exist, what does that mean?
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, what I'm saying to you is that I'm talking to the men who are going to have economical choice to choose the woman that they want to be with. They're going to choose some black women and they're going to choose some non-black women. They're going to choose brown-skinned women, or they're going to choose, some of them might even choose white women. I've never promoted that. That's not my choice, but some men will do that. The point is that those men will have the opportunity to build a black community that they want. And the black community full of Pookies and Ray Rays and the guys that just want to have 3, 4, 5 kids with different women in the neighborhoods that we have today, those neighborhoods are going to become the low class, no class communities that are used for basically, like in India, the untouchables, slave work.
Oh, yeah.
Work where you,
No, I tell you what.
uh-huh.
The vast majority, I say about, I think it's 80%, 60, 75, 80% of all the black children, of the black children born, are born to only 16 to 20% of the men. 60% of black men are single and childless. 61%
and you're going to try to change, and you're going to try to change that. You're going to try to change.
Let me explain something to you, man.
Pookies and Ray Ray's kids.
Let me explain
You're going to
something.
try to change Pookies and Ray Ray's kids?
Let me explain something. This is for the guys with good sense.
Okay.
Stop giving them your attention. Stop giving those females, those modern females, your attention. Stop getting them pregnant. Stop having kids with them. You see that they're not fit. 80% of the black women are overweight.
But let me ask you this. I understand the stats.
So stop giving them your attention.
Lord, let's have the conversation. I understand the stats. My question to you is, if 16% of the men are having 80% of the kids with these women, those 16% men, are those the men you're saying should change their behavior and only
No, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, the rest of us, the remainders who are out here looking for monogamy and marriage and legitimate children born inside of wedlock. The men like me who want to have my children by a wife, and the rest of us, like I said, who got some sense and know what's going on out here, stop giving these women your attention. Stop giving them your attention. Stop letting them speak for you. Stop letting them speak to you. Ignore.
Well, we can't stop them from speaking.
No, we can stop them from having something to say directly to us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You can stop that. I'll give you an example.
I agree with
I'll give you an example.
I agree with that.
I'll give you an example. Thursday, I was on my way to the gym. I'm in really good shape. I'm a very, very in shape man. I work out 5-6 days a week. I'm in the gym every day after work. I was running a little late, so I didn't get a chance to eat a snack before I left home to go to the gym. So I stopped at Burger King just to get a snack, something, salad or something. Lady says to me, "You're not supposed to eat before you go to the gym." This lady's about 5'1", 200 pounds. I said to her, "You don't get to look like me, built like this, not knowing what you're doing." And you know what she had to do? She had to shut the fuck up and give me my order and let me leave up out of there. My point that I'm making is this: these chicks, and I'll give you one more example. I was at Bar Louis. Having a drink with my assistant, and little lesbian chick talking shit, sitting there, blah 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 blah, running her mouth, and I'm like, she like, "If you can't pay my $600 a month car note and blah 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 blah, and this that and the third, I don't need." I said, number one, what am I getting for my purchase? And number two, I don't lease. I buy the whole car, as you should. If you think you're on my level, then you expect to get treated like I would treat me. And the whole point that I'm making is this: you don't sit there and go back and forth with them. You straighten them, and then you have nothing else to say to them. Words are very powerful. It's just your words have to mean something, man.
You're right about that, but
your words have to mean something. You can't treat people like they're your equal, because they're not your equal. The law, the letter of the law is everybody's equal. The spirit of the law and reality itself does not say that.
Well, I don't
We
know
are not all
where you
equal.
came in. I'm not sure where you came in on the show, but I think that was part of the things that was in the discussion earlier as well.
Pardon me.
No, that's
Pardon me.
fine.
I was at
That's
the
fine.
Kevin Samuels memorial service.
No, you mentioned it, and that was a worthy place where you were. In any
Right,
event, what I
right.
would say is that, if a woman in a discussion start out telling you that you have to be paying her bills, immediately you let her know the only woman bill I pay is my wife. Have a good day.
No, I'm not. You
Bow
got to
out
take it a
and
step
leave.
further. You got to take it a step further because she wasn't
No,
saying.
you don't have to beat anything into their head. Your power is when you walk away. She can't argue
Right.
with
No, I was
herself.
sitting
You'll
down. I
look
was
like
sitting down
crazy
having a
lady.
drink with my. I was sitting down having a drink with my boy, and she was
Okay.
sitting there. She was mad because when me and my guy were walking into the bar, I looked around. There were a lot of good-looking women in this bar, and no men. And I was like, so I asked the lady at the door, "Is this a gay bar?" I asked, "Is this a gay bar or something?" Because I'm like, why is there so many good-looking women in here with no men in here? No, this ain't no gay bar. So I go sit down, and the chick goes to the back and tells the other lesbian chicks what I had asked, and then they start coming to my table with their nasty ass
So
mouths.
if it's a lesbian bar, it is a gay bar.
No, it wasn't a lesbian bar. It's just a bunch of lesbians that work up in there.
Well,
But the whole point that I'm making is, the whole point that I was making is, I guess she tried to flex her dominance or her masculine. I don't know what she was trying to do, but I don't play those types of games. I said, I believe in equal rights and equal lefts. So I advise you to get the fuck away from me talking shit because I'm not playing with you. But before I got in that deep with her, I let her know that you sitting here trying to tell me, first of all, I'm trying to enjoy a drink with my boy. I'm not trying to talk to you. I don't owe you nothing. You owe me some service. You owe me some hospitality. You get the fuck out of here. You're not gonna stand here and try to dominate no conversation with me. I'm the man. Number one. Number two. Listen. We have to put these women in place. We have to flex our dominance over there. That's what we have to do. Plain and simple. In all situations.
I think oh, go ahead, Sage.
What I would say is,
because if we don't flex our dominance, the only thing that's going to happen is we're going to keep going down. We're going to keep staying at the bottom as a community.
Lord.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What I was going to say, it definitely seems like you're angry. And
no, I'm not angry. I'm mean. I'm not angry.
Okay.
I'm mean.
Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. My point is that you don't always have to generate that much emotions to communicate, particularly with a woman that you're not interested in. And if her job is to serve you at a particular place of business, just let her know, excuse me, I'm just here for the service. End of conversation. To go into dominating her,
no, but see, that's the point.
Energy and time.
The point was, see, like I was saying, I tried that. I tried that passive, nice, cordial approach. I'm sitting there drinking with my boy, and she's standing at my table talking shit.
You know what you do?
I'm like, excuse me, miss. I'm like, excuse me, miss.
You pay your bill and you leave.
Bro, me and my man, we were still waiting on our first. Bro, are you listening? We were still sitting there waiting on our first drink. We were sitting there waiting on our first drink.
Then you had no reason to stay because you didn't even get something to keep you there. Just get up and leave, walk out.
Brother, here's the point.
Hold on one second, sir. You took us way off on another tangent, and True Table was he had brought up a good point of reference, and I was trying to see if we could search out an answer for it. But I wanted to contribute something to the part of the conversation that True Table had brought up. And what I was going to suggest is one of the things that we know that works with corporate America and with business is that everyone is conscious about profit and return on investment. And if it's a publicly traded company, stockholders' shares and their return on their investment. So, and this I think have always worked strategically for Black people very well. One of the things I think could potentially make a complete shift in the mindset of not only the kids in the community, but young adults in the community as well. How it would be if, let's say, 1 million black men did not buy, select 10 rappers and did not buy any of their records for 6 months? Their profits would dip significantly. Now, yes, we know other nationalities buy their music, but it's always black people who are their strongest supporters and make them the success before they can even cross over. We can be the gatekeepers to who make it and who don't. And when we exercise that power of the dollar as men, forget what the women do, because you know what? There are women in this chat right now that if they were your husband and they were your brother, if you were their brother and you were making these kind of moves, they would stand by your side. And the thing is, we need to show that kind of leadership financially to shake them and break them. And they can get pissed off all they want, but you know what we're going to break? We're going to break the companies that back them. And then the companies will have no choice but to change the music. The man is still talented. The woman is still talented. Sing something else, or we put you out of business. Are we that determined, though? You know what we usually do? As soon as the dip and they come out and they give an apology, we like, okay, we are suckers for apologies, man. And what we got to do, we got to show people that we'll break you. Let's break a couple of companies and send them into bankruptcy. And let's see how that may have a change. Hit them where the purse strings, where it really hurts. Black men have to really take control over everything that we do. And if we want our women to respect us, we're gonna have to bleed. We're gonna have to bleed. We can't say, oh man, I hate the kind of music he make, but damn, did you hear that beat? That beat was the shit. We can't do that. Because then we're a hypocrite.
Mr.
So what do you
Lee,
think about that, Table?
I know, I agree. As you know, Lord was talking, you know, I was formulating thoughts, and it's crazy because I didn't want to sound contradictory or hypocritical, but I was going to say that, yes, we will have to strategize a financial plan to maybe even utilize those figures that are popular, because what it is that the celebrities are businesses. They're representations of the community. They sit in rooms, they get offered endorsements, they get offered money to advertise. And a lot of times what I think is that we see as a community a reflection of self. It gives, you know, our people are driven by hope. Our people are driven by, you know, progress, potentially. And even if it's somebody so far removed, like my gentleman, Marvelous Opinion, was saying, we don't know these people. If we, you know, they would never give us the time of day if we beg for it. You have to pay to even enter into their arenas. You have to pay to even, you know, wear their clothes or whatever it may be. But it would take, like you said, Mr. Lee, a strategic effort to be, in my opinion, offended by any mistreatment that is of the community. You know, I don't get too much into sports, but the fact that we as a community still supported the NFL after Colin Kaepernick was set down is still kind of troubling for me, in my opinion, because if we held that brother to the standard of being a part of the community, and there would be no way that we would continue to tune in, you know, to patronize. But our community is not that offended. And I think that's the part of the problem.
And that's the thing. We're not offended by nothing. We get offended momentarily in the emotion like a woman, but men should not get offended in the emotion. Men should see the offense as a disrespect. And when the disrespect must be met with a consequence. That's how we should do it. And we should be able to lock in. We don't have to agree on everything, but we could say, you know what? Yo, that was a diss. We ain't accepting that. They're going to pay a price. And we sit down, we strategize, we come back with a response, and we make that response. And you know what? We hold out. What changed the civil rights movement? They held out for a year. But we weak, man. We weak. We can't hold out for a month, much less a year, because we're not determined. That's our problem.
Mr. Lee, I want to hit on exactly what you're talking about. You see, your question from earlier was, I don't want to say it was a trick question, but I think you already knew the answer because you said this a while back when it came to talk about, you know, men and having discernment and when to know, even you said earlier, when to let go of certain people. See, the thing is, what you're talking about when it comes to our community, it sounds like you're almost describing cancer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is there a cure for cancer? And even with this discussion, with the business, all that stuff, it's the same aspect. We're talking about something that is killing us. And it's like, well, what do we do with it? Well, obviously, one thing we always supposed to do is cut it off. And that's the thing that's hard to do is like, how do you cut off cancer? In what way? Are we going to do it surgically? We're going to do radiation? How are we going to basically go about this method? That's the only answer. There is no going forward with this cancer that we know that we have an issue. We can keep ignoring it, but that's not going to work. It's going to get worse, and before it knows, it's going to be the death of us. But the thing is, honestly, that's the real solution. I'm not lying, but when we ask like, how do we reverse this? There is no reversing cancer. You simply have to cut it off at the source. Like once you recognize the problem, cut it off. But the thing is, does anyone have the gall
But
to
we
do it?
can't. But
Yeah.
we can't.
Hey Lee.
We don't
Hey
have
brother
we
Lee.
don't have the cojones to do it. Dr.
Hey
David,
brother Lee.
I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So I wanted to say something about the question and the conversation we were having. I think one of the things that Kevin and a good number of people were talking about was the fact that it is difficult for us as Black people to really make an impact in how we are governed and how the society runs if we actually don't have a stake in the decision making. I mean, a good example is, you look at the NFL, where you have 122 teams and you only have one or two Black owners there. When we don't actually have some form of ownership, and that was something Kevin always pushed on, that we should always strive for ownership as Black people, because with that we can actually make decisions and make moves that actually favor not just us as Black people, but actually is fair to the whole of America, more fair than people who have enslaved us for several years. So for me, the way I do it in my house is I teach my kids, to go after the professions that put them in the position of power, that put them in the position to make decisions for our future as Black people. Yes, we cannot make everyone lawyers and make everyone engineers and whatever it is, because the truth is the age that we are in now is different. People are going to be sports people and they're going to make a lot of money from doing sports. They're going to do music and things like that. And, Kevin was very strategic about that because he branded himself to show that his focus was repairing and, in a way, modifying the image of the Black man by how he dressed himself, by the music he played on the show and things like that, to show that, you know what, Black men have a different side. Men meet up meetings, and those meetings where men, you have to come dressed in a particular way. You have to, put your image in a particular way. But then after going all on the exterior, then he started working on the interior and started telling us as men that we cannot really make a change until we get involved in the decision making. And by getting involved in decision making, we need to pursue those courses and those degrees or those professions that will put us in a place of power. But yet, Kevin also pushed for men to go and get their CDL and to also do their hustle, because it's important that you are holding up to your responsibility. So if you have a family and all those kind of things, you need to actually get something that pays your bills and make money so that you can take care of your responsibilities. But if we're going to be in a position to make decisions and make policies that actually favor us as Black people and also favor the whole America, then we have to put ourselves in those positions to be in those professions that can make decisions. Because the truth is, we can play football and we can make records and make a lot of money, but we can't make a decision about how we are being profiled by the police or how things are being run. So I think that's one thing that we as men need to do in our homes, because like Kevin always says, his focus was to push for families, push for the nuclear family, and telling women to stay in their homes, work it out with their families, build a home together, and telling men as well, don't just have a bunch of babies and run around and all these things. You already have a family. If you have two, three kids by all these people, that's a family there. Go and build that family and make it work. And teach your kid, teach your son, teach your boy to actually pursue those professions and those positions that actually have us in a place where we can make decisions for the Black people, and we can then move forward, and then change how we're actually portrayed in our image as Black people, and also even leave a legacy for our people. So that's my perspective on how we can rationalize those issues. But I think you and most of the men have made a lot of very vital points as well.
Okay. Well, I would say this, that that's one approach, but we also have to have a multi-prong approach. We have to offer the
Of course.
kids opportunities to make better choices, but we also have to disincentivize the bad choices that have been running on for the past 40, 50 years. DJ Gemini, let me drop you down for a minute. I need to bring someone else up. I need to create some space. Do you have
I
any
say,
last words?
Don't worry, Mr. Lee.
so
Mr. Lee, I'll drop.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
I'm gonna
Dr.
go
Steve,
ahead
as
and
well.
exit,
Thank you
but
very much, Mr. Lee.
I just wanted to say, if you truthfully want to just see the community build up itself, I'd say first we got to change the mindset of what we value. I'd say one of our most crippling thing is that we're worried too much about being too flashy. So the thing is that we need to prioritize putting our money towards, like I said before, assets. That way we can start to build our wealth, because we spend too much money building other people's wealth.
But
So
to be honest, the men who are businessmen that are successful, those are not the men that flash.
no,
Those
no,
men
no,
build
no, that's what
their
I'm
wealth
saying though. Like
quietly.
all
They
the
build
richer people,
quietly. The
like
people that
even the
flash are the entertainers. And what we have to do is we have to disincentivize the entertainers' effect in the young minds of our young boys and young women. And we need to offer, particularly the young boys, uh, to be able to make better choices to choose. Though it's a longer term career, it has more self-rewarding aspects to it, and sometimes could be far more money than the fast life of the entertainment field, whichever choice they may be.
well,
Okay,
what I would
go ahead.
say to that is that if since we're talking about building, if you come across a woman that is potentially preaching about things that because like most of the talking points of like high successful women these days is that men ain't this, men ain't that. So the only way to counteract that is understand that you are a man. So if someone's talking about talking points saying that men ain't crap, then you need to make sure that you separate yourself, because even
Well,
it
this conversation today is not about women who are successful who are talking
no
down to men.
well
So
I'm
I want to keep it. I want to keep it focused in terms of what are men doing to build themselves up. And then once you're on that path to doing that, what standards are you going to put in place to help you be able to choose the best woman, whether she's black or of another nationality?
just help other men figure this out too. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Okay, good enough.
Lee, may I say
Yeah,
something?
sure.
Okay, you asked the question. What would they need to do to build themselves? Just concentrate on himself. That's all you got to do. You know what you need to correct. So
Well,
just
not all men know their faults.
okay.
So you need to learn either through YouTube, different channel creators, or you may take courses of self-development. I'm a proponent of NLP, neuro linguistics programming, because I learned it years ago, 20 something years ago, and I find that it helps you think and analyze things very clearly. It gives you the
Yeah,
power of thinking. So
yeah,
can not every man can look inside himself and see what his faults are, much less analyze knowing what you're doing wrong to change it. So just focusing on yourself may not help you, because you might need someone to guide you, at least to get you started.
right, right. And actually, that was actually the route I was taking. Listen to different content creators
Sure.
a year after my last relationship, and I get to learn about myself. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Okay. Complex design, you need to be on camera if you're going to come up on the panel. Can you come up? I'm ready to bring you up now.
Okay, give me a
Mr.
second. I have to switch my phone. I had to charge it, so my headset plugs into the USB-C. So I have to
Okay.
jump on.
I'll put you back down until you're ready.
Okay.
Or are you
Hey,
ready
Miss,
now?
I mean, I kind of was. Let me see how much battery I have. Give me a second.
Sure.
I
And
don't have
Mr.
time.
Lee,
In the meantime, yeah. Someone else has something I want to say?
yes, Mr. Lee. I'm gonna make room for the panel and stuff. I just want to leave everyone with a message when it comes to building up yourself as an individual and what the issues are. The cancer, in my opinion, being selfish and unintentional. I think those are the actual two biggest cancers we have on the planet. Period. People moving out of purpose and people just being selfish and
Well,
outwardly.
let's keep it within us because
But
we're
yeah,
at the
yeah.
bottom.
I'm
We need
sorry.
fixing more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
anybody else.
So
So
yes, even with ourselves, more so, black men need to be more intentional with how they move. They don't have the thing is you have to know more to do more. You know what I'm saying? You have to expand on what it is you know so you can make more decisions. People are stuck because they just don't know. And they don't even know to humble themselves to know, like you said, people just don't know their flaws. That's the part of being humble. You don't know yourself. So the thing is, you have to reflect upon yourself, black man, and learn how to build yourself up. But again, that's another day. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Lee, for having me come up here for the day. I appreciate all the love and support you guys do. Continue to work, continue to grind, and continue to support you guys. All right. Peace and love,
okay,
people. All right.
appreciate it. Much appreciated. Complex Design, go ahead. Welcome to Sage Talk, sir. How are you?
Thank you, Lee. How you doing, man? Thank you for having me on. This is my first time on this platform here. However,
Sure.
I am a content creator in the Black manosphere, so to speak. Um, and largely I focused, and my cohorts focused on fourth industrialization, right? And the reason why I wanted to say this is because uh, I don't think that the aim should be for black men to ultimately do it all for the nookie, so to speak. Um, the reality here is that it takes money to make the world go round. It takes money for you to live a quality life. So whatever the case is, the outcome should never have like a woman at the end of it. Okay, that should never ever be the case. And so I think if we're going to have discussions among men about productivity and about building things and creating business infrastructure and things like that, the last thing you need to be talking about is female troubles, right? Because you can make money and have female troubles, right? Female troubles are female troubles. And then there's people who may not have female troubles, right? So
Well,
I'm just saying you can pick your poison there, but I think our focal point as men really should be on what are the emerging industries, where are all the growth trends at, right? That should be the conversations. If you this is kind of the response to some of the brothers that came on and kind of spoke to, kind of utilizing this space, right? What's the most productive way? And I really do think that this space ultimately should be utilized as a LinkedIn, so to speak, where we maybe even have our business profiles on our YouTube channel, or our YouTube channel actually does profile what we do professionally. I think collaborations are in order. There's a lot of ideas actually out here. And I think what happens here is that if the majority of the time is spent trying to figure out how the female's mind is ticking, then there's less time being spent on business strategizing and modeling and planning and doing. So that was pretty much all I really wanted to come up here and kind of express. There are venues in the Black manosphere where it's all about the data, it's all about the business, and it's all about the politics. Females be damned at that point. Yeah, you seek and ye shall find, basically. My battery's going low. I got to run. I just wanted to kind of come up here and just express that.
Not a problem. And definitely what you had to add was valuable. But, depending on the man, and today I had the conversation really focused on the 20% to the 1% man that's on his grind or on his focus to becoming successful, and those who already are successful.
Right.
Once you reach a certain pinnacle or on the way to achieving, part of your success will be more than likely building a family. And in building a family, you're going to require to have a woman with you. And in having a woman with you, part of this conversation today was about choosing better. How do you choose the right woman, whether
Well,
it's a black
here-
woman or a different woman? You know,
okay.
to have $1 billion or 500 million or 100 million and just hang out with a bunch of guys, going places and doing things, to most men, I would think that is not enjoyable. Some
Okay.
men may find it profitable, but some men want the pleasure of being with a woman and the pleasure of a family and a home and to pass something down. Because if you build something that is a structural, physical, economical, whether it's a business or anything in that realm, you're going to want it to go beyond your lifespan. When you die, you want that to go forward. The reason why we have Wells Fargo that's 160 years old or JP Morgan Chase that's 131 years old is because when these business was established, the owners that thought about it, they wanted to make sure they pass it down, and they had families and sons to pass it down to. And now it has become corporations that now is passed down through the shareholders' ownership.
Yeah, and,
Now,
and to
family
that I would
members
say,
can still have a share stake, but they're not the owners and operators of the business anymore.
right,
So,
and fair point. And to that I would say, as the CTO of his own tech company, who is also the widowed single father of a 10-year-old daughter, I understand
okay.
exactly what you're saying.
And
I
you know
understand
what?
exactly what you're saying. So
Perfect.
with
And
that
you
in
wanted a
mind,
family and you build it, but unfortunately, life dealt you, a bad
this is
card
my
and
whole
you
point,
lost your
right?
wife.
Like this is my whole
Absolutely.
point. Look, you as a man, you could even set out to do it right, and sometimes it's going to be the will of God, right?
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, you have one or two options: sink or swim. Okay.
That's everybody, no doubt.
Yeah. And well, what I'm saying, we don't have the safety nets. We don't have the fail safes in society as black men that other groups of people do. Okay.
Absolutely.
This is the reason why I approach life with ultra importance and a high level of seriousness.
Okay.
Okay. Because you could do it right. People will tell you if they're familiar with me. I don't
slightly
really
know
talk.
your name, but do you have a channel? What's the name of your channel? Same Complex Design?
It's no. That's my personal channel. If you want to know about gardening, like this stuff right here, go to my personal channel.
Okay.
But for the more serious stuff, go to the Black Brain Trust.
The Black Brain Trust. Okay, I'll make a
The
note.
Black Brain Trust. Go there. But we're all industrialists in the fourth industrial paradigm. We're all technologists, globalists, and we have spent 4 years on YouTube modeling this out, how black men can essentially create the global infrastructure vis-a-vis technology, right? To, I guess you could say, reestablish our kingdom, so to speak. So I take the content that I do very serious, and I implore all men, black men particularly, to engage life with a higher tone of seriousness, because you could do it all right, and you never know when it gets snatched from you. And even in that sense, in that instance, you got to man up.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate what you had to add to the conversation today, because
absolutely,
that's one of the,
appreciate you guys so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to go. The battery's about to literally drop, man. That's why I wanted to just hurry up and say that.
Sure.
Okay. And Lee, man, feel free to stop on by anytime, man. Love to have you on.
Will do. Yes, I just made a note of it. Will do.
Got it. All right, you guys, easy.
Okay. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to start to settle down. We're already at the 4.5-hour mark. Let's look to close it out. So, Lord Geethron, how do you pronounce the last name, or the last way of your name, so I can say it correctly?
Geotron.
Geothron. Okay, perfect.
Geo.
Okay, Geo. Okay, like Nat Geo. Okay, Geotron. Okay, got it. So why don't you give us some closing words?
Okay, brother. I didn't mean to be disputive with you, Mr. Lee, brother. I look at you as my brother, and I have a lot of love for you. I'm not trying to be attacking you or none of the other brothers on the platform and on the channel today. From what I've seen, but I've been studying the black community. I've been studying economics. I've been all over the earth. I've been studying life and the human condition for the past 30 years. Okay. A lot of what I've heard up here is wrong. I'm not attacking you guys directly as persons, but a lot of the things you guys said is incorrect and wrong. That's why, I mean, people have been saying it for 30, 40, people have been saying it for 30, 40 years.
Such as?
The way we have to deal with people and women. Like the brother just said, Fresh and Fit say it a lot. You'll get women when you focus on yourself.
I don't watch Fresh and Fit.
That's why I'm relating it. That's why I'm saying what they say. You'll get women. Women come as a result of becoming the best version of yourself. Women will be there. You don't have to pick and choose. What you do is you focus on yourself.
If you don't pick right,
let me
you will
finish.
end up with something you don't want.
No. You'll only be able to get what you want when you become the best version of yourself. The only thing that you can get let me explain.
Sure.
What you will get will be what you want, because the only thing that will be around you is what you want, and it'll be your pickings. That's my point.
Not necessarily.
The stuff that's been being said up here today.
Not necessarily.
The stuff that has been being said.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever made $150,000 a month? I have. You attract all kind of women when you make that.
No. I make about 168 a year.
You do. Say again.
I make about 168 a year. I don't make that much a month.
All right. Well, that's what I'm saying. When you make that kind of money, you attract all different kind of women. Trust me.
But my point is,
it's not just the one you want. It's going to be
it's
around.
It's not only about your money. That's the point that I'm trying to.
The money is the access to the door. The access is what gets you in. Absolutely.
Listen, the money is only the economic aspect of it. Humanity,
economic runs the world.
Like Kevin Samuel
economy run the world. Economy run the world. You do know that, right?
No, the world runs the economy. That's what you're not understanding.
No,
and this is what Kevin Samuel was explaining, and this is why he blew up so big. Because life is about people, trade-offs, understanding. The human condition is such as that you have 5'1", 300-pound women out here with multiple children by multiple drug dealing.
But we're not even having that conversation today.
No, can I finish something without getting cut off, man?
Because you're talking about things that we're not even discussing on this
platform. You're cutting me off. You're cutting me off in the middle of my statement. You're cutting me off in the middle of my statements before I get to the point.
That's not even the subject of the show today. But if you know that, why are you interjecting it?
When I get to the end of what I'm saying, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
My point
I'll give
is,
you a minute.
Thank you. My point is, life is about trade-offs. How do you choose better? Become better. Become better. What you get in life is a reflection of what you are. And another thing, as a Black community, we have to understand 61% of our men are single and childless and in the middle class. We have to start appealing to the majority of our people. We can't talk as high-level men. We know what we are. We know the caliber of men we are. That's why Kevin Samuel blew up like he did, because he reached out to those blue-collar men, those $42,000 a year men, and expressed to them how they can become better, how they can make better choices, how they can become the best version of themselves. Being $100,000 a year man, okay, we got access. What does that mean? We have to start. We can't only look at ourselves as individuals, number one, and because life is about people. And number two, we have to start looking at the masses of us. That's how you make a change. Target the people in the middle class. Target the Black men, the average earner, the plumber, the pipe fitter.
Who should target those men?
The people who want to see change, who have the resources to influence them. The people who have the platform to speak up.
Give me an example of me?
Kevin Samuel, Mediocre Tutorials.
It's all here for them. It's all here for them to access.
No, my point that I'm making is the content that you're putting out. You have to put out the content that gives you the attention. If you're saying something that they can't relate to, they're not going to relate. They're not going to reach out. They're not going to listen. They're not going to chime in.
Well, some of the subject may not apply. I assume that.
Well, I mean, this is what I know about life and here in this country. For every billionaire here in America, there's 40,000 jobs. Now, what good is knowing that information if you can't do something to help a billionaire strive? Being a high valued man is not about how much money you make. That's one of the requisites.
You're not going to help the billionaire. You're going to try to help the 40,000 to reduce that to 25,000 to make 15 of those thousand go up to 100 grand or more.
No, for every billionaire, there are 40,000 people who have a job because of that billionaire. That's what I'm saying.
I understood that.
And the point is, you want that billionaire successful because the more success he has, the more jobs that get created at the lower levels down.
Well, the difference is that what I'm talking to is to get black men out of those lower levels down and to help them move up into the higher levels.
Well, the way you do, here's something I learned from my ex-wife. You said something about being angry. I'm not angry.
Okay,
I'm mean.
Fine.
I'm a mean person. And you know what being mean does? You know what being mean does? It keeps bullshit and stupidity away. Become a mean person.
Well,
learn how to be comfortable. Learn how to be comfortable being
controllable.
No, being mean it under. You ever seen that movie Old Yeller? Remember the movie with the dog, Old Yeller? Remember when they went hunting for pigs and the pigs beat the dog up and they thought, because there was a rabies outbreak, they thought the pigs might have had rabies, and the boy explained to his mom, no, those pigs was just mean because they beat the dog up. He was messed up. But then they were out at a campfire and a lone wolf came out and attacked, and the dog got in a fight with the wolf, and the wolf was mad. He had rabies. There's no way in the world a wolf by itself would attack people at a campfire. The point was, the difference between being mad and being mean is mad is what's uncontrollable. Being mean, you can control that. It's not an emotional stimuli. It's a state of mind to protect you from bullshit and stupidity. We have to start instilling.
If it works for you, that's fine.
Well, it's not about me. See, that's the thing. Life is not about me. Life is about everybody else.
Why would you want other black men to be mad?
I didn't say. I just said I don't want them. I said mean.
I'm sorry, mean or be mean if that's not their character and disposition.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. What I've learned is this: men of value, men of resource, have the discipline to be uncomfortable. Have the discipline to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Have the discipline to be comfortable with being away from the norm and away from other people. You have to be able to do it. You can't be a panderer. You can't be nice guy. You can't be politically correct. Not if you want to get results, because look at the past 50 years, 60 years. We've been steamrolled and ostracized, put down, blatantly disrespected on TV shows and movies by our own kind. We got talk show hosts that get up there and say men ain't nothing without a woman. You get talk show hosts who have movies out saying black men ain't nothing but rapists and wife beaters. You got news broadcasts and politicians calling us animals and savages and super predators. You got all these types of things going on, and all we doing is sitting there taking it, trying to take the high road and be nice when we sullied in quicksand and in the mud. You can't take the high road when you in mud, bro. You got to get out of the mud first, then you can clean yourself off. We can't try to pull the straw. We can't try to pull the straw out of somebody else's eye when we got a branch in our own eye.
That's your approach. That's not my approach.
That's reality. That's how life works. That's reality. It's been taught.
Because I've found success not taking that approach.
The exception doesn't make the rule. It proves it. You're the one out of 100,000.
Well, I'm not the one, because I worked in an office of 6 black men, and I was not
you're
always
the exception. You're the exception. That's not the rule. Yeah. You're the exception. The rule is 61% of black men are in the middle class,
which means they're succeeding.
Which means is we're at the bottom, because men of other nationalities are above us as far as yearly annual earnings, conditions of our community, conditions of the women that they have to choose from.
In the middle class, they're not base or minimum wage earners.
Yeah,
it's just not. The math don't work that way.
Yeah. Black
But I'll
men
tell you
only
is
fall
this.
behind. Black men fall behind their Caucasian counterparts. We are not at
No,
the
average
very,
white man makes 50,000 a year. Average black man makes 41,000 a year.
which is only a difference
Right,
of
but
about
that is
$5,000. That's
that's
not
the
a
median.
significant. That's not a significant jump.
No,
That's what I'm trying
and
to say.
I'm not trying to make it about that. What I'm trying to see,
Yeah.
but that's the point that I've been making since the beginning. It's not about the money. It's about the condition of our community.
Well,
It's
yeah,
not about
I
the
think
money.
The money
Life
is a
is
big
about
part of it.
people.
That's why the black community is asking for reparations.
Bro, we got our reparations 2 years ago when they gave out all that unemployment and those stimulus checks, man. We blew it and we
Okay, I
wasted
mean,
it. Instead of 10 of us.
if that's your perspective, I don't believe that.
No, look.
I
Check
guess
this out. I'm
that's
gonna give you a perfect scenario of what I'm talking about.
because
I
that
know
went
a
to
bunch of
everybody
people-
in the United States. It didn't go to black people solely.
No, but my point is, I know a bunch of the scammers who were able, without jobs and without businesses, were able to scam 13,
And they're going to
14,
go to
20.
jail. And they're going to go to jail.
Look, bottom line is, what's been being said has not worked. You're the exception, Mr. Lee. You're not the rule. You're not the norm. You're the exception.
Okay, so Kevin Samuel was an exception.
So when you
also.
want to change the norm, when you want to change the norm,
make change. Exceptional men make change.
no, it's not about being exception. No. Exceptional men make changes for themselves.
that's not true.
No.
That's not true.
You're making an assumption. You're making an assumption.
Okay, all I'm saying is this: what I've heard today, here today on this platform, on this
Right?
live stream,
On the show. On my show.
yes, what I've been hearing today has been being said long before this show was ever said. It hasn't worked. All the stuff you've said today has been said before. It's been being said by rappers back in the early 90s. It was said back in the 80s. It hasn't worked.
There's nothing that I've said today that a rapper would say. And I came up in the day from the 70s where the first rappers started. The Bronx and New York. Trust me. And I've followed rap. And they have not.
You talked about investing your money.
No, I didn't.
And
No, I didn't.
growing your children, teaching your children.
Excuse me? Growing your children and teaching your children?
Or raising your children and teaching your children.
That wasn't a conversation, but that wasn't part of my monologue. That was in a conversation with some of the other guys on the panel like yourself, but that wasn't in my monologue.
Yes, sir. My point that I'm making, brother, is it's not about you and me as individuals. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about Brother Table. It's not about Brother Steele. It's about all of us as a whole. No one of us is more important than the whole. That's what we need to start getting in our head.
You should go back and watch some of my live streams because I did a show about 2 months ago called A Monolithic Mindset. You should go see that show.
I mean, my heart is broken over the condition of the black community.
I understand perfectly. So trust me, I'm not being offended. I'm a man.
No.
Well, I'm a different kind of man. I don't get offended by what men say or some behaviors, and you're not being disrespectful, and I'm not taking it that way. So
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No, I don't have that problem.
I just, brother.
I see you're passionate about what your perception is,
It's
and
us.
that's fine.
It's us. This is us. Exactly. It's us. This is about you, me. This is about us, bro. We just lost one of the great.
And that's what I was talking
one of the
about
great
today.
men of all time last week. When Kevin Samuel died, we just lost one of the greatest men of all time, definitely in the black community. If Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, Steve Harvey, Tyler Perry, TD Jakes.
Let's not talk about the women.
No. Listen to what I'm about to say. Listen to what I'm about to say. Just hear me out. If we lost Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, TD Jakes, Medea, Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey, Vivica Fox, if all of them were to die today, the loss of all of those people combined doesn't match what we lost by losing Kevin Samuel, bro.
But there might be women that differ with you on that opinion.
It's not an opinion. The whole fact of the matter is Kevin Samuels was getting results.
You're absolutely right, and I agree with that.
People lie, numbers don't. Results don't lie. Attitudes and behaviors and opinions are lies. Results are
Well,
not lies.
I would say that the names that you quoted in comparison to Kevin, they are getting
Combine. You
results. They're just-
combine all those people and their
Yes.
impact on
Let
black
me-
community, if
okay,
they were to
all right.
die, would not be as devastating to the black community as Kevin Samuels' loss was.
Well, actually, they have been devastated to the black community. It's just that they weren't building.
Their lives have been devastating to the black community. Their lives, their existence. The dumbed down TV shows, the disdain and the high level disdain and disrespect for black men. The way they turn their noses up and portray
So then
movies
what would
that
you
every
suggest
black man,
we do?
huh?
Let me ask you, what would you suggest we do?
We teach our boys to be men by being mean.
How you gonna teach a boy that you're not married to the mother and the
Well,
child
see,
is being
that's the
raised?
thing. I don't have any sons.
Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
The
Go ahead.
the child is with the mother. The mother's taking you to child support court to get the money, but you can't see your kids. How do you teach the boy?
You go file for custody of your child. You get documentation that your child is lacking in reading level.
And what's the percentage of men that actually win in court? Do you know?
It's like
17%.
7.3.
It's like 10%.
It's like 17.3%.
It's like in the teens.
In terms of men that have custody, it's 17% gross total.
Okay, but here's the thing: there's only 16% of the men who are the fathers of these unwed, illegitimate children. So let them suffer for making those children.
I don't care about them. That's for the mothers to deal with. That's not my problem. That's for their fathers to deal with.
I'm talking about the men.
Problem.
Okay, and see, those 16% of men are not the ones who speak for the 84% of us who are either childless and single or married and fathers to our children. See, there's no way around it, bro. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Say again?
I understand your passion, but I think you're misdirected.
No, 16% of
I understand the numbers. I understand
of black men are siring
yes,
80% of the children.
I understand the numbers.
So okay, so if those 16% of men, they're unfit fathers, plain and simple.
So what are you going to do about that, or what do you suggest we should
let them go extinct? Let they ask, be mean, and let them go extinct, and teach the men who are trying to be something.
I said the very same thing about half an hour ago when you first came up, and you disputed it.
No, I did it. I said let them 16%, the baby mamas with them, and their kids go extinct.
That's exactly what I said about.
But the point that I'm making is,
and you disputed it.
In what way did I dispute it?
You said that we should help the black community and be more to build some kind of community, something to help these kids
that wasn't
and
me.
help these boys.
No, I never said anything like that. I refuse. I said something
you'd
about.
have to go back to the point where you came on board because a lot have been said. So
When I first came on board, I started talking about the politics. When I first came on board, I said something about teaching our kids and teaching our people about the politics of this country, destroying the black community, going all the way back to Lyndon B. Johnson and every Democrat.
You covered many subjects. I said you did say that, but you covered many subjects. You didn't just stay there.
Yeah, no, I'm against welfare. I'm against socialism.
Lord, what I was asking you to do about 15 minutes or so ago was to give us your last words because I'm getting ready to close the show down.
I'm sorry, brother Lee.
Brother, I love.
Hey, brother, I love you, man.
I
love
understand
all
your
people.
passion, and I understand the anger that's in you right now because of, the loss of Kevin and going through that memorial and just the whole emotion that's in there. So I fully understand what you're dealing with, and I would love to have you come back and view my show on another Sunday because I don't think everything that I put out you may disagree with. I think you might find some value in some of the things I do talk about here. So I'd appreciate that.
Hey, bro. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Yo, we lost a great man, bro. We lost a great man, dog. We lost a great man, bro.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Maybe you should go and watch the show from the beginning, today's show, because I think there are things that I talked about that would that you would empathize with as well, and that you may see my point of view before people came up on the
Hey,
panel.
bro. Hey, y'all take care, man.
Okay,
Thanks
appreciate it.
for having me,
Thank you.
man.
All right. Take it easy. Be safe, though. Okay, bro? True Table.
Mr.
Your brother's
Lee.
hurting, man. Your
Yeah.
brother's hurting, man.
He is.
Brother's
He
hurting,
is.
man.
He is. He's very, very passionate. Kevin Samuels was an impact, so he will be
Absolutely.
missed. Yeah, he will be
Absolutely.
missed. But yeah, I appreciate that brother's passion. I think that a lot of things he said was fragmented, and
Yeah.
given the opportunity, it may, come together and make a little bit more
Yeah,
sense.
may gel together. Yeah. After you
Yeah.
give some time.
Yeah,
True that.
definitely. But thank you so much for having me up on the panel. You're very wise, brother. I respect your perspective on many occasions, and continue to keep doing the work, staying consistent, and thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Eugene Still, last words?
Yeah. All these things about us as men being providers, protectors, and so forth. When I first listened to Kevin, this was the very first time I've ever heard it from a man's point of view. I've heard all this stuff before from women content creators, which they all believe in their roles in a relationship. They all believe in being submissive, and when they hold other women accountable, their underlying message to me was, well, if I want to be that leader, provider, I better get my shit together quick. I really better get my shit together. And I want to, first of all, I want to thank you for saying something about setting standards. Before you set those standards, you want to make sure your mindset is right. And all these things have helped me. I want to thank you, Mr. Lee, for putting things in the easiest perspective for me, and keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll do my best. I will say this in my last few words in closing, and these last few words will go out to the ladies. The thumbnail that I selected for my topic today was specific, and JR was very instrumental in helping me to create it. But going forward, as Black men, those who choose to get on their purpose, to be able to build themselves up to the man that they envision themselves to be in the future, these are going to be some of the movers and the shakers in the next 10, 15 years. And they're going to have the choice of any woman they want on the planet. And if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times. Most Black women say they will never compete for a Black man. Well, if you don't compete, take a look at that thumbnail again. There are other women who will compete for a Black man, for a successful Black man, for a Black man that's going somewhere, doing something, changing this world, changing America. And if you want to be a woman that's standing by that man's side, you're going to have to become that woman that he would choose. Because Black men are not going to be choosing, especially the men who are in that 10, 5, 1% man. He's not going to be choosing you just because you got a color that match his. Because all the things that I talked about today are problematic. And we as Black boys, before we became Black men, have experienced many of those things from the women in our family. And then we grow up to experience it from the women in our neighborhood. And then when we go out into the world, we experience it from the women in corporate America and businesses and society in general. And men don't want to deal with that. And a lot of times, the very man that most of your sisters want, you run them off. And women who are successful that have a space, they seem to be using their space to downgrade and to beat Black men over the head. And that Black men don't have a voice, should not have a voice, and can't say nothing about a Black woman. But a black woman could say whatever the hell she please about any black man, anytime, day or night. Well, I'll tell you right now, as long as I'm on YouTube, whether it's with the Lapeef Network or any place else, I'm gonna have something to say about that because I've always had a voice and I will continue to speak. And when y'all sisters are doing right, I'm gonna call that out too. But when you're acting kind of the way y'all acting right now, and I'm not speaking directly to the chat, I'm just speaking to those who may see this show at some future date in the replay. That if you don't change your behavior, and Jerry, I want you to always try to keep that my motto up on the thumbnail for every show. I'm not trying to change you. And whatever I talk about, I'm not going to be talking about changing black women. I don't have that time for that. You're going to make the changes in yourself if you want the outcome that you desire. If you don't, brothers just going to move on. They're going to go for what they want because they would have established themselves to be able to put themselves in a position to choose or take what they want. Thank you for choosing to spend your afternoon with Sage Talk today at the Lapeef Network. Everybody have a good day. Enjoy your evening and see you next Sunday. Thank you very much.